right. Happy Friday, everybody. If you're in the chat, leave me a comment. I saw that I had 5 people waiting in the chat a half hour before the show started, which is pretty freaking awesome. You got to love it when there's people in your chat waiting on you. So cool. I am drinking peppermint. No, that's not true. I'm drinking spearmint tea with doTERRA wild orange essential oil in it, a little bit of vanilla creamer, and some sweetener. And that's it. My sweet husband brought home dinner, which he usually does on Friday nights because he knows I'm busy, and that way I don't have to cook. Turn that up just a little. And he brought Papa John's. I always get Domino's, but he loves Papa John's. I'm not a super big fan of Papa John's, but the fact that I don't have to cook dinner on Fridays makes it taste better. So he was very sweet and brought that home. And I actually got my kitchen cleaned up. I've been working on the ornaments. I know you guys have been kind of keeping up. I've been getting questions, emails on the ornaments. So I wanted to show you. I showed you guys these the other day. These are the plastic ones from Michael's. And they're just clear and they're like a squished circle, like somebody sat on it. And I wanted to do ceramic, but you have to pay so much attention to putting those away and, not breaking them. And you know how it is when you're packing Christmas stuff away, those delicate ornaments get broken and, you break I've done some ceramic ones. I did some of Santa's face years ago and I hand painted it. And then I used an antiquing wax on it and beautiful, beautiful ornament. And you just have to be super careful with them because they'll break. And I didn't want the kids to have to worry about that. So I did some plastic ones. So I wanted to show you guys. Let me go down here. Okay, so here's 3 that I did. And what I did was, since no 2 are going to look alike because I'm doing an acrylic pouring technique, I decided just to stick with do 6 of the same color family. So this is it's like a brown red, a white, copper, and I think that's all that's in these. And then I took and I sprayed these little tops, or I painted them with the acrylic paint, the copper color. And so I put a layer of Mod Podge down too, actually, on either side, and then painted the one side. I taped off the backs, and I just painted the backs are just solid copper. Let me see if I've got one close enough. So the backs just look like that, but there's the front. And they turned out, they're super pretty. I really like this one. And then the backs are just copper. Because if you let it pour down the back, it leaves big old globs and stuff. It's a mess. I also got my Mod Podge on the wooden ones, and those are drying. But they're super shiny now. They're really pretty. And I decided, since so I painted the backs of those black, and I didn't like that. And they're so thin in wood, it's really hard to pour the backs of those without messing up the fronts. So I decided what I'm going to do is take the other ones that I have that aren't painted, and I'm going to glue them to the back. So there'll be a plain back side. And then I'm going to, Wolf, hi, sweetheart. Welcome. I haven't seen you in forever. That made my night. So I'm going to stain that second ornament that I'm going to glue to the back. And if my husband weren't already naked, I'd have him bring some in here. They look like they looked before. They're just super shiny now. Really, really pretty. So there's one. And then I had some people that asked me, and I'll show you some more of these. I've got more pictures of these. But I had someone ask me about all the wasted paint. Some people went, and I bet you have been busy. They were asking me about the wasted paint. Well, that really bothered me too, because I'm not a waster. Like, I try to have zero waste with our food and everything, just to not be wasteful. And so what you can do is you can save those. And so when I pour onto these, those silicone baking mats. I've got 2 of those, and I pour onto those. And then once I'm done with the ornaments, I stretch it out so it's kind of even and thin, and then you let it dry. and you save these skins. If people I care about would stop dying, that'd be great. Oh my goodness, who's dying on you? They seem to come like that. They always seem to come in threes in our family. Hi, Tennessee woman. So this is one of the skins from one of the pours that I did. And you can save these. They're real thin. They feel like, I wish I could describe what they feel like. But anyway, they're real thin. And what you can do is you can buy jewelry. You can buy pendants that have a little inset in them. And you can cut these out, and then you can, hi, Salty Cuban Cracker, you can Mod Podge inside the little, so like if you've got a pendant that's round, it's got a little inset, you put some Mod Podge in there, you cut your skin to fit, and then you put it in there, and then you Mod Podge over the top, and then you've got a piece of jewelry. You can also take these and put them on a box, like a jewelry box or a box for, your little grandies to keep stuff in. I've got that one. I've got the pink swirls. That's from these ornaments. This was the pour off from that. And so I'm saving those to do little pieces of jewelry because they glue in quite nicely. So there's the ornaments. Let me see if I've got the other ones. And then here's some single ones. And they just, let's see if we can make that more so you can see it. Okay, that's good as we're going to get there. So there's one. There's one. I kind of messed that one up, but it looks okay, if you're not just staring it down. There's another one I did. Is that the same one? No, I don't think so. Anyway, that's what they look like when you're done. And I'm going to do a video of them, of me doing them. I just had to figure out how to hook up an overhead camera, how to do a second camera, how to make all the cords reach, because I have to have a completely different setup. I have to have a camera looking at me, and then I have to have one overhead so that you can see what I'm doing. But this one turned out super pretty. And there's another group of them that I did. And I've got to get them all done by Friday or Sunday. That's when we're doing our Thanksgiving. And I wanted the kids to have them before. So do you see this wood countertop that's underneath? I actually painted that. It is just a whitish yellow Formica countertop. And I bought this stuff called Retiquette, Retiquue. And it's like a liquid wood. And so I poured it on the counter, and it's like a real light tan color, almost a buttery tan. And then I took a graining tool and I did all of that graining by hand, and then I stained it. And I just did it like, you'd have a section of I just wanted to see what it would look like. And we're changing our countertops out anyway, but you would never know that that is not real wood. It feels like real wood because of how I grained it. And I'm just I got to have a little artsy fartsy outlet. Wolf of Fenris, it's called acrylic paint pouring. And so what you do is you buy these, they're called pourable acrylic paints. And I put like a layer of white down. You could do whatever color you want. And then you just start pouring your paints over the top one at a time, or you can put them in a little cup and layer them in the cup and pour them on, and you'll get different patterns. Some of these I just used a straw and blew those out a little bit. If you take the white and you do half water, half paint, it activates all these little cells that you see in there. So they're coming out really nice. I'm going to do some, I'll try to record the ones I'm going to do this weekend, because they're going to have that turquoise blue, copper, gold. I can't remember what else I decided. And then I'll get some pictures of the wooden ones that I did as soon as I get the backs on and get those stained up. So that's what I've been working on all week. It's been crazy. Plus I got my surgery date. So if you didn't watch on Wednesday, I'm having surgery December 4th. Wolf, I am so sorry to hear about the deaths in your family. I'm just seeing this. Hold on. So you lost your mom, your fiance, and you lost your fiance. Why would you not email me about that? I am so sorry. And your mom. Geez, that's crazy. I'm so sorry. I will definitely be praying for you. That's terrible. So anyway, I've been working on that. I'm having my surgery December 4th. Got the insurance approval, so we're all good to go for that. Got all the pre-testing done, the EKG and the upper GI um, and all of that. I talked to the doctor, and we had thought that I thought the hiatal hernia was ruled out because the upper GI didn't show it, but she said you can't really tell till you get in there and do surgery. So I don't know if I'm going to have that fixed or not, but definitely having the gastric bypass to help stop the GERD that is eating my vocal cords. I am so trying to, yeah, surgery. Okay. Hi, Larry. So I had a gastric sleeve surgery like 5 years ago. After I had the near death experience, after I had been on steroids for like 3 years to try to get that under control, I just ballooned up and gained all kinds of weight and I couldn't get it off. And even doing the post-surgical diet, I couldn't get it off. And I did that for 6 months. And so finally I was like, I'm going to die. I was like 240 and I'm only 5'2". And so I had gastric sleeve surgery, which was the wrong surgery. The doctor that did it should have done a bypass because I have such terrible GERD. Well, because he didn't do the right surgery, I'm now with a different doctor. And the two doctors that I saw about this both said, that's the wrong surgery. That should have never been done on you. And I said, yeah, it was almost as if he was trying to set you up for needing a second surgery. So because of that, I got really sick. I don't know, like what, a month, and I guess in September, I was doing a podcast and I started having excruciating pain and I had to stop. And that was on a Friday. I held out till Tuesday. Tuesday, I went to the ER and I was in such excruciating pain that my blood pressure was like 210 over 160. My heart was being affected. I was having ST elevations, which is what you see with a heart attack. They gave me 4 milligrams of morphine and then like a half hour later gave me 2 more. And it took that just so that I could sit in the bed so they could get stuff done. It was terrible. They admitted me because it was so bad. They were worried I had mesenteric ischemia, which will kill you. But they got in, they did the upper GI. They found ulcers in my stomach and in my throat. And so I have to have the surgery done because otherwise you can get what's called Barrett's esophagus, and you have just so much erosion in the throat that it mutates those cells, and then you develop cancer in the throat. And that's a bad cancer to get. So this is why I'm having a gastric bypass done, because when you have a gastric bypass done, it fixes the GERD, and we have to fix the GERD. And so that's why we're doing it. Big fun right around Christmas. So, I won't be able to eat much for Christmas. So hopefully we're going to do Thanksgiving the 19th. So I'm going to make up for what I'm going to have some goodies. Yeah, doctors in the Google age for sure. For sure. Well, and I remember asking that doctor, I said, shouldn't we do a bypass since I have such severe GERD? And he said, well, if we do that, then there's nowhere to go if you need another surgery. Well, if we'd done that, I wouldn't have needed another surgery. So I don't think much of him. And I've been clear about that with people in the support group. When your fiance passed, I was having health issues. Well, still always reach out because I wasn't doing a show. I had plenty of time to pray for you. I'm so sorry about your fiance. That's terrible. You guys are young. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I won't press you for details because we're public here, but pretty sure that was the point. I know, but I care about you. Okay, so it's it's been a crazy week in news, but not as crazy as it has been, I guess. The big news that got me, did you guys see this, where getting you in another surgery, I've had a demonic experience, good times. Yeah, you have. Send me an email and keep me up on what's going on with you. So this article, I guess it came out 2 days ago, and they were talking about how there was embedded reporters with the Hamas group that went in and killed all those Jews on October 7th and kidnapped, Jews and people of other descents. And I didn't talk about it because I thought there's no way this is not going to turn out to be true. Well, it did turn out to be true. what I'm finding is the way that even alternative media is presenting it is not exactly right. So when you read the article, what you find out is that CNN, the Associated Press, and I can't remember who the other one is. If you guys know who it is, pop that into the chat. But they had an embedded reporter with Hamas. Okay. Well, the way everybody is type in chat so I can save it. What, my email address? It's in the description. So what the alternative media, the regular media is not talking about it at all. What the alternative media is saying is that CNN and the AP, they're making it seem like they had reporters from the States embedded with Hamas for this attack. That's not exactly right. What's going on is they have a correspondent that is a contractor that lives in Palestine and that had access to Hamas. This guy definitely is as guilty as everybody who did what they did on that day. And Israel has said as much. They're like, we're coming after you because he knew and he didn't tell anybody. So, I mean, he was even carrying a grenade. He was helping load the trucks. That's not a reporter. That's a terrorist. So it wasn't like they sent Lester Holt over or something like that, right? They already have this guy who reports on stuff from Gaza, from Palestine when needed. And so they took his footage on this and then they were like rejecting it and rejecting payment and stuff now because it's obvious that he was participating. He wasn't just, it's different when you've got, like, if we're going to go to war, we always have reporters embedded, but generally we know we're going to war, right? This was a terrorist attack. We don't generally embed journalists with terrorist attacks because you don't know about them. So that's actually what happened. So nobody like hear from CNN. This was a guy that they used for that sort of thing. So I felt like people either didn't read all the way through. Even Timcast got it wrong. I mean, Timcast gets stuff wrong, but even I think Benny didn't relate it the way it actually was, and we have to be careful that we're relating information correctly. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. But I didn't know if you guys heard about that, and I just thought that was crazy. There's an image of him, or there's video of him like loading guns into trucks. There's an image, he's standing, you can see the photographer standing as there's a Hamas terrorist, I guess you call him, agent of Hamas, driving a motorcycle. Then there's a little old lady on the motorcycle. Then there's a guy behind her on the motorcycle. They're all three on it. And he's standing, like before they take off, he's standing there and he's taking pictures of them, like with, he's got his telephoto, all of his lenses and everything. And then there's a picture of him riding on the motorcycle with a agent of Hamas, and he himself is carrying a grenade. So that's not a reporter. That's a terrorist. So that's actually what happened with that, in case anybody had any confusion because of the way it was presented. Larry says, take care of your health. Of all the NDEs, yours and two others are the most inspiring stories. Well, thank you. I get a lot of feedback on them. I get a lot of requests for interviews, which I've been turning down because I've been hard at work on my book. And so now I'm really scrambling to try to get as much of it done as possible before my surgery. Because the last surgery I had was really hard to recover from. I'm hoping this one will be better. All right, so we've got this story also. All right, where'd it go? It's missing. Hold on. Wait. I don't know why my picture's not showing up. That's weird. Okay, let's just remove it. So there was this from Thomas, for Pete's sake, from Thomas Massey. Media files. There we go. Let me crop this. I didn't know if you guys saw this. I read it to Don, and he was, poor Don. Don is like really, the news is very upsetting to him, whereas I can read it and be like, yep, same BS. But it really bothers him. It like messes with his sleep and his mental health and stuff. But I had to read this to him. So Thomas Massey, the federal government has mandated that all vehicles sold after 2026 must have a kill switch that can disable your vehicle based on your driving performance. My amendment to defund that unconstitutional mandate failed tonight. And it just like went right under the radar. So the whole gist behind it is, the whole gist behind it is that it's for alcoholics. This will be some kind of software or something in your car that will be able to detect if you're driving erratically, and it's like a kill switch. It'll stop your car. Okay, well, what if you're driving erratically because you're trying to get away from someone, or you know what I mean? There's a million. What if they decide, I don't know, that you said some things on YouTube that you shouldn't have said, and that they don't like, and so then they decide to kill switch your car. The whole thing is crazy. I cannot believe that's legal. That this is a mandate on all. So if you're going to buy a car, get it bought before 2026 if you don't want to kill switch on it. And I wonder, is there like a way to disable that? Maybe some of our motorheads could let us know if there's a way to disable it. I guess till you see what it is, you don't really know. Our oldest son makes an app called, it's going to escape me. He has a company called DMAC Mobile Development, and he makes an app. Hold on a second. Hey, babe, what's the thing that Donnie makes? It's what? It's a JB4 mobile app for performance BMWs, and they make them for other cars too. And what it allows you to do is it allows your phone to talk to the engine and control your engine performance. So typically before, if you wanted to do that, you had to have your laptop in your car and have it all wired up and everything and be able to do that. Well, with his app, you can just do it on your phone. He sells those through Berger Motorsports. And then he also makes a diesel, a fuel chip or something like that. And that's his business. And I think they sell the gasoline chips through Berger Motorsport too. But anyway, I wondered if he would have a way to disable that, because who wants a kill switch on your car that's controlled by something or someone other than you? I mean, imagine that. Imagine you're like, you've got somebody in traffic who's being crazy and you're trying to get away from them and your car does a kill switch. Then what happens? Salty Cuban Cracker says, using their own argument, wouldn't the kill switch cause more car crashes? That's what I think. I'm like, so where has this been tested? And the reason I think that is because, hold on, let me find this article. Not that one. We got a lot to talk about tonight. This one. Let me share this. Yes, stop sharing screen. Oh, this crazy thing. Okay. This. Okay. So this is from Blaze Media, and for the love of God. The whole thing just went away. Okay. So this is Cruise recalls self-driving taxis after vehicle drags a pedestrian, and CEO confirms layoffs. So this is crazy. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I'm having a little issue here with my screen share. There it is. Okay. So what the heck? Stop. Continue freeloading. I love that. So General Motors Cruise is recalling its entire fleet of 950 self-driving taxis to conduct software updates, Forbes reports. In October, the California Department of Motor Vehicles announced the immediate suspension of the company's testing permits, citing safety concerns. The department also accused Cruise of misrepresenting safety information regarding the self-driving technology used in its vehicles. The autonomous cars pose an unreasonable risk to the public. The DMV's decision did not impact Cruise's ability to continue testing vehicles with a safety driver behind the wheel. However, the company ultimately decided to shut down its entire fleet and pause deployments in Arizona and Texas. An investigation by California and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration was launched following an incident that resulted in a Cruise vehicle dragging a pedestrian. In the incident being reviewed by the DMV, a human hit and run driver tragically struck. A human hit and run driver, I don't know what this means, tragically struck and propelled the pedestrian into the path of the. Oh, okay. So somebody hit the guy and sent the guy flying into the path of the vehicle, of the Cruise vehicle. The AV braked aggressively before impact, and because it detected a collision, it attempted to pull over to avoid further safety issues, Cruise said in a statement. When the AV tried to pull over, it continued before coming to a final stop, pulling the pedestrian forward. Our thoughts continue to be with the victim as we hope for a rapid recovery. So that's bad, right? And these things have been a problem. What the heck? These things have been a problem because we'll just go to a different screen. This is just going to give me trouble tonight, I can tell. So initially, people were complaining because these autonomous vehicles were doing, hi, Summer Rose, because these autonomous vehicles were doing things like stopping and not moving out of like where a fire truck would exit the fire department, or getting in the way of ambulances and not moving, and all kinds of issues. And that didn't stop it. It took a person getting hit and being drugged by the vehicle. Auto mechanic would be a helpful skill to have, wouldn't it? You're not lying. Sent a test email. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's crazy, right? Can you imagine, like, you're being drugged by an autonomous vehicle? So do you have like any hope of it stopping, or are you just thinking, I'm just going to keep getting drugged? Like in the moment that you're in that situation, that's just crazy. So yeah, probably time to. I feel like the testing is in real time. Like I feel like they're not doing testing in automotive laboratories. I feel like they're like, let's turn these loose on the streets of California and see what happens. And I don't know, this is what's interesting to me. Would any of you feel comfortable getting into an unmanned taxi and being driven around California or New York or Boston or wherever? I just, like, when if I saw that there was no one driving that car, I would be out. I'm like, no, I'm not playing this game. Because like, how do you can't even backseat drive, what if you see something that the car doesn't. I mean, I feel like, do you guys remember the movie The Car from back in the 70s? I think that's what it's called, where the car is demonic and possessed by the devil and it's killing people. That's what I feel like. I feel like we've entered that. Bonnie Mama 5, welcome, honey. Nothing good would happen the way they drive. Right. I mean, sure, there's human error and people make errors when they drive and stuff, but at least they're, what is the word I'm looking for? They're humans. They can reason and ration. And there's this idea that AI is so much better than us, so now they're using it for things like, nurses. They're making these AI robots that can go and administer medications, and I can't remember what else. But I thought, so if an AI goes in to, say, give a pain medication, is that AI nurse going to know to count the patient's respirations to make sure that they're breathing enough before they give a narcotic? or assess what is actually causing the pain. Like maybe a narcotic isn't the best option. Maybe the patient needs to be repositioned or get up and walk, or, there are all kinds of things that could be causing pain. And I don't know. I just think it's gone way over the top. It's one thing if you're using automated things to make car parts or other things that is for, but personal care, they've been testing it in nursing homes as like companionship for the elderly people. And I think that's just the saddest thing I've ever heard. They're like, oh, it improves their cognition and makes their mood more even and everything if they have a fake person to talk to. And it's just a sad testament of our society that they don't have a real person to talk to. So I think that's just kind of sad. Salty Cuban Cracker says, old Russian Jeeps seem more appealing to me by now since they still produce the same model. Do they really? From the 60s? I did not know that. I will discuss that with my husband. He knows stuff about cars. His degree is in industrial education and small engines. Of course, he doesn't work in that field at all, but, well, I guess he kind of does. He works for Boyd Cat. I actually would love it if they were safe. Really? So if they were safe, you'd feel comfortable getting in. Why does that feel better to you than a manned vehicle? Just like because of the risks that come with who's driving me around? Ashley, hey. Christine by Stephen King used to be my favorite movie. Now it's real life. Christine, is that the one? Is that the bloody prom one? Is that right? Oh, I can't remember if that's it or not. AI, fake people. No, that is sad. Yeah, for sure. That is sad. I'm like, you can't make it part. So like here in Kentucky, I think it's still a thing, but we used to have a thing when my kids were in school where you had to do so much volunteer work to be able to graduate. That was part of your requirements. And I really like that. I think that's a good idea. It helps the kid get out of this, teenagers just by design, kids by design are very self-focused. And so I think those teen years, even middle school, is a really good opportunity to get kids out to volunteer. If you've got a spoiled, rotten, irritable, cantankerous teenager, get them doing some volunteer work because it will give them perspective on how hard everyone else has it. It's a really good idea. I forgot to tell you, I ran into Nexit. Nexit's alive. It feels like that whole crew that I had on Thursday nights, I just lost when I went to Fridays. It's an UAZ Hunter. It even has a shifter. I love shifters. Don doesn't like, oh yeah, Bloody Prom movie is Carrie. You're right. I like to shift when driving. To me, it doesn't feel like driving if you're not doing that. Of course, I don't drive a lot, where Don drives every day in city traffic and stuff. He's like, you couldn't give me one, but I love to shift. When I learned how to drive, my dad, we had this little Mitsubishi truck, and my dad taught me on a standard first, because he's like, if you can drive a standard, you can drive anything. And his method for teaching me was there was this boat ramp, and he, you know how inclined those are. He took me about 3/4 of the way up the boat ramp, and he's like, okay, this is how you do it. He put the brake on, we switch places, and he's like, okay, you got to figure out how to take off before you roll back into the lake. Because my dad's theory was that you need a good amount of nervous tension to be able to learn effectively. And that is true. Like studies show that if you're a teacher, professor, whatever, and you don't have any tests or any assignments due, it's just whatever you all do in class, there's not enough tension to push the students to actually learn. So that knowledge that there's going to be a test helps the student to put priority on learning the material. So yeah, that was Dad's idea for teaching me how to drive. And I kept rolling backwards, and I'm squealing like a girl because I'm a girl. And I'm squealing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, we're going to roll back into the lake. He's like, you better figure it out. This is the same person who taught us to swim by throwing us in the water and yelling, swim or drown. Old Navy guy. God love him. Tony One Savage Gaming. Welcome to you. You're new. I love to drive. I do deliveries all the time and spend time with the Lord. That's lovely. I talked to my oldest, or second oldest son today, and he's got a new job where he is doing realty photography. And so he has to operate a drone for the properties and stuff. And they gave him a really nice camera and training. So he's got his drone certification and drone pilot certification and all this stuff. I mean, how cool is that? What a neat job. And he does a lot of driving because he has to, go. It is dramatic. Summer Rose. I have lost practice driving and know how. I have lost practice driving and know has. So do you not drive? My daughter had just quit driving when they moved to Ohio. She just never got her driver's license changed over, and for 2 years she just didn't drive. And so the last time we went, she and I went to get coffee, and we were up there for my grandson's birthday, and we went to get coffee, and she's like, "Oh, I've got my permit," and I said, "Well, I'll drive. I'll ride with you because you'll need super." She's what, 20, 27? 27. She'll be 28 here in a week or so. But yeah, she's finally getting her driver's license back. So cute. No, it's where a kid gets his first car and the car is possessed. Okay. That is Christine. I don't think I've seen that one. The one I saw, I think, was just called The Car. It was this really big, it had a really intimidating grill. It was a big black car. This is a long, old. But yeah, so there's that. Just leave that there. Okay. This was the other thing. Okay, so did you guys hear about this? There's 2 people that came out. So they've released these tapes, or some of these tapes, to I guess Blaze Media. I don't know who else, on the January 6th thing. Well, when Blaze went in and they looked at these tapes, they found that this guy named Dunn, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but they perjured themselves on the stand when they were testifying against the J6 people. And so they were saying, "Oh, I was there and I saw this. And now we've got video showing that this guy was not there. There's no way he could have saw this or could have seen this." And people have been convicted over this testimony, which, I mean, surely to goodness, we're going to put people in jail for this. Let me find it. Oh, I don't know where my thing keeps going. I just had that up. We're just going to have tech issues tonight. I can just see it. Anyway, I can't find it now. Wait, did it pop back? No. So anyway, these 2 guys, Dunn and whoever, definitely perjured themselves. They were not where they said they were. They absolutely could not have seen what they said they saw. And they are still working. I think they're both Capitol Police. Salty Cuban Cracker says, "My grandfather, when he first came to America, he never had a driving license, since in Cuba it's really hard. So he would go to work on a single gear bike and would go into the highway." Oh my goodness. So I had a foreign exchange student from South Korea, and she was telling me how hard it is to get your license there. So I don't even think, I think I've got this right. I don't think you can even take a driver's test until you're 21. And then to take it, it's crazy. It's like $1,500. It's just crazy expensive. So there's a lot of people there who don't have licenses because it is so difficult to get a license. And I didn't realize that other countries were like that you couldn't just go when you're 16 and pay your $20 for your learner's permit, take your class and be done. So yeah, that came as a shock to me. Also, I wanted to tell you, so we had our elections here in Kentucky on Tuesday, and Attorney General Daniel Cameron was running for governor, and he lost not by very much. And there were these reports. So there was a report that came out that said, if you watched Salty Wednesday night, he talked about it. But there was a report from the Berea Folk Center, which is funny because that's where my kids grew up. That's where I lived. It's where my parents still are. It's about 30 minutes from here. People who were voting straight ticket there when they would put their ballot, I guess, into the machine, it was switching it from, like, if you voted straight Republican ticket to Democrat. And so they put up these signs and they're like, make sure that you double check. But they didn't tell anybody because they didn't want to slow down the line. And they also didn't, but they're like, well, we had signs up, but people aren't paying attention to the signs. You're in a place, you know what I mean? It's not a familiar place, so you probably don't notice a lot of the signs when you're voting because it's a place meant for something else. Like, we vote at the middle school. Well, there's signs up all over for the kids and different things. There was a volleyball tournament. If there was a sign that said this, I didn't see it. And we voted straight ticket. And here where we voted, when you put so you fill it out by hand, but then you put it into this scanner thing. And then I don't know how it registers it past that point. So I don't know if when I put it into the scanner, it read it right or not. So I'm going to call the county clerk next week and see if I can check and see how my vote went through. I don't know if you can do that or not, since I voted in person. If I vote absentee, I can check. But anyway, so what I learned was, if you guys have been with me a long time, you'll remember do you guys remember when the whole story came out in Indiana? This abortion doctor came out and said that because of the Roe v. Wade thing, and because Ohio had restricted abortion because of Roe v. Wade, this little 9-year-old girl who had been raped had to be brought to Indiana to have an abortion. Well, what she didn't say was that she reported this to social services or to the police or anything like that. And I was concerned that perhaps this hadn't gotten reported. So I lodged a complaint with the Attorney General of Indiana, even though I don't live there, because this was on TV. So if you lodge a complaint with the Attorney General's office, a written complaint, by law, they have to investigate it. And I knew that because I'm a nurse. And so I thought, what the hospital had said was, oh no, she didn't violate anybody's HIPAA rights by going to the media about this. And people were eventually, just based on the details she gave, able to track down who this child was, or who the family was. And the guy's in jail. It was somebody known to the family. But my concern was, were the products of conception kept so that they could get a conviction on this guy, do a DNA match? Was the chain of custody maintained appropriately so that evidence could be used if it was kept? Was this reported to social services and to the Ohio police so that they could investigate? Because at the time, Ohio were saying, we don't know, we don't have any report on this. But then later they said they did. So anyway, I sent you guys are so funny. I sent a complaint to the Attorney General's office. Well, that made me the complainant in the litigation. And so when this went to court, they brought up my complaint, and the attorney was complaining that these people who had lodged complaints, many of them were not from the state of Indiana, as though that matters. It doesn't matter. No, I don't. They're like, they don't know this doctor. They don't know this child. Well, no, and I wouldn't have known anything about it had this doctor not gone on TV and given details, which is a violation of this little girl's HIPAA rights. And I was concerned about that. Like, how does a 9-year-old girl give consent for her to talk about this to the media? And what really bothered me was this doctor didn't come out to tell the media so that people in Ohio would be aware that there was a child sexual predator. She told them because she's an abortion doctor and she was pushing her agenda, which is a completely inappropriate reason to share a patient's, especially a minor child, to share their information. And so if I were a nurse, somebody would do the same thing to me. And I'm like, somebody needs to look into this. She may have done everything right. I don't know, but somebody needs to look into it. And without a formal complaint to the AG, it won't happen. So that said, when I heard about these voting irregularities, Daniel Cameron, who was running for governor, is our AG. So I sent him a letter because I wanted investigated. So I sent him a letter that says, Dear Attorney General Cameron, per this article, which I included the article from LEX 18, and complaints from fellow voters, I am requesting the Attorney General investigate these voting irregularities to determine what went wrong, how many ballots were subject to errors, and if this changed the outcome of the gubernatorial election. And so now he will be required by law to look into that. So we'll see what happens there. Since I've done this once, I'm doing it again now. And what was funny about when I did it with this little girl, when I reported that, was that I got a call from a reporter in Indianapolis, and she wanted to interview me, and she seemed kind of sketchy. And like, she didn't come right out with knowing that I was in a different state, or she had looked up some stuff about me, and I just didn't appreciate it that she didn't come clean about that initially. And so I'm like, I don't understand why you want to interview me. Everything I have to say is in the complaint that I made to the AG, and I read that on my show, what my concerns were, and I don't have anything to add to that. And she's like, oh, but I want to talk to you personally. And I just felt like it was going to be a gotcha thing. And the case isn't about me. It's about this little girl and this doctor. And I did not want to insert myself into that, because then the case becomes about me and not about them. And so I refused to speak to her, and she kept hassling me, and I still refused to speak to her. Well, then I called the Attorney General's office, and I said, hey, you've got an attorney here who is calling the people who have made these complaints and wanting to get them on the record, and I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize this case. So I wanted to check with you first. So they're like, don't do anything. And I gave them the name and everything, and they were going to call me back, and they never did. So I went ahead and talked about it on my show, but I wouldn't talk to her. And so I don't know what's become of this 9-year-old or the person. I probably need to update that. All right, hold on. Let me get caught up on comments here. Salty. Oh, I read that one. In Cuba at the time, you had been given permission. You had to be given permission by the Cuban government to purchase a car. You had to deserve to get a car and then buy it with your own money, then get the license. So what constituted being deserving of a car, I wonder? Good evening, Marie. Good to see you. Hold on, I'm trying to scroll. This thing is not easy to scroll. Wolf just keeps popping in. Marie, notice me. You guys are so cute. I love that you all have developed friendships. Silly Boar says, Indianapolis Star is sketchy. Far left for sure. I'm in Indy. Okay, so maybe you know about that, because if you go back and look, they bring it up in court that I'm one of the people that made the complaint. So, if I'm not boat rocking, I'm not happy, I guess. I just thought, this is a little girl, and if somebody doesn't stand up for her, and as a nurse, I know what the laws are regarding this, then, will they? And when I made the complaint, I called back to make sure they got it, and they thanked me. They're like, yeah, we actually do need somebody to initiate a complaint for us to be able to look into it, which I didn't know that part, but now I do, which is why I sent the letter to Attorney General Cameron. All right. Michigan Dems ending legislature here. Oh, okay. So let me read this one to you. Get this over here. See if we can figure out this dang screen share. I don't know what's going on with it. All right. Let's do this one first. Okay. Make sure you guys can see it. All right. Everybody else sucks. Black Lives Matter leader endorses Trump for 2024. I thought this was quite a bit of news. Let me find it here. I don't know why it's... There it is. Got it. Okay. Mark Fisher, a co-founder of a Black Lives Matter chapter in Rhode Island and founder of a new BLM-related organization, is on a media tour advocating for Donald Trump to be president in 2024. Everybody else sucks, Fisher told host Kim Iverson in a recent interview. After Iverson asked if he thought Trump was simply the best of the worst and not that great either, Fisher clarified his views. I like Trump, personally, and I think right now who we have sitting in the Oval Office is just a deep disappointment, I deeply have disdain for him, and I really dislike the vice president as well. Fisher was the co-founder of BLM Rhode Island, but has appeared to hold the same views in his new role as the founder of Black Lives Matter, Inc. In January 2022, he told a Black Business Association website that his vision was to see a world where Black people are no longer subjugated to and oppressed by a white supremacist ideology in any form or facet and at any level, and wherever it may rear its ugly head, that it be swiftly eradicated. For his new company, the About page lists a nearly identical vision. In the text, the term Black people is simply replaced by African American people. We want to create wealth, Fisher told Iverson. We want to gain wealth, leave something for our children, you know? Being anti-capitalist wasn't Fisher's only reasoning for condemning Democrats. He also said that their stance on abortion went against the laws of nature and the laws of procreation. Fisher also claimed that Black Americans have been mental slaves to the Democrat Party, who have abused them for so long. He added that Trump is the opposite. He's going to tell you how it is. He's going to give it to you straight. He's not going to be a hypocrite and stab you in the back like the Democrats love to do. At the same time, Fisher recently made headlines for defending those who were jailed following the events of January 6, 2021. Their lambs led to slaughter, to be sacrificed as an example for all who might want to dissent in the future, Fisher told the Epoch Times. This is what the government does to those who express independent thought and want to stand up for what they believe. So what's really interesting about that, let me close that one. What's really interesting about that is that a poll came out today where Trump is winning the vote, the polls with black men. I don't know where he's at with Black women. And that is a big shift. He did better with Black men in the last election than he did in 2016, but now he's overtaken the majority. Salty Cuban Cracker says, to be given permission, this is to drive or to own a vehicle, you had to work extra shifts for free. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Be really politically active and snitch on your colleagues. Also, if you appeared on the blacklist, then you're not able to get it. You guys, that's what's coming here. Can you see where this would happen? That's basically social credit. If the government doesn't feel that you have enough social credit based on what they think you should be doing, then no, you can't get a license or have a car. I mean, we're just talking about a kill switch on your car based on your driving. Who decides what's erratic and what might they then use it for past that? You know, maybe you're driving just fine, but you're making politically unpopular comments on your Rumble channel. And you know what I mean? You just don't ever want somebody else to have this much control over your life. Biden is being controlled by Obama. Yeah, he's being controlled by a lot of people, I think. Sorry, trying to skip the... Hide that. Oh, there we go. They put that up there. That's so much better. So anyway, there's that. Craziness. And then we're going to talk about Michigan Dems ending legislature a year early. So let's look at this. I mean, they're paid to do their job. Apparently that is that's up to them, whether they do it or not. All right, make sure you guys can see. Oh, that one went through just fine. Okay. Michigan, where's it at? There it is. Okay. Michigan Dems ending legislature a year early to help unpopular Biden with primaries, avoid sharing power with GOP, and evade angry voters. And this is the Gateway Pundit by Benjamin Wetmore. Michigan has a full-time legislature, which means that it's in session continuously during its 2-year term. A legislature is in session when it can meet and propose legislation, resolution, and bills that affect the government. The radical left Michigan Democrats, who currently have a one-vote majority in both the Michigan House and Senate, are going sine die, I'm guessing that's Greek, on Thursday after the day's session ends, one inside staffer in Republican leadership tells the Gateway Pundit. The term is a term in legislatures which is the final motion of the legislature to end its official term. There are two reasons this is being done. One, to empower the moving up of Michigan's primaries to protect unpopular Joe Biden, and the second to preserve Democrat control of the legislature even after they lose the majority. Unpopular Biden has been pushing the move up primaries in states because Biden's popularity has fallen to significant lows. Biden faces primary challenges from Congressman Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson for the Democrat Party, as well as several underdog candidates such as Joe Tiger King, Exotic, Vermin Supreme, who is Vermin Supreme, and pro-life champion Teresa Bukovinak. Robert Kennedy Jr. was a possible primary competitor who alleged that Democrat leaders were rigging the primaries against him. Iowa and New Hampshire are traditionally the early primary states for the presidential primary in both parties. So Teresa Bukovinak told the Gateway Pundit, Biden's arrogant snub of New Hampshire's primary election isn't the first time his administration has ignored the voices of voters. His radical embrace of abortion extremism dramatically misrepresents the majority of Democrats who oppose elective third trimester abortion and perpetuates the mass murder of viable unborn children. The Democrats moved the primaries up but neglected to give the legislation immediate effect, and that mistake threatened to render it inapplicable until the 2028 election cycle. But by ending the legislative session this week, it will cause. So what happened was they voted it in, but they didn't do it soon enough, and the vote can't take effect until after the legislature their time is over. So they just went ahead and ended early so it could take effect rather than doing their job for the prescribed amount of time. They're doing this because 2 of 56 Democrat legislators are likely to win lower local offices, requiring them to resign from the legislature, threatening their control over the legislature. So the 2 Democrats likely to win their local races are Kevin Coleman and Lori Stone. The loss of these 2 Democrats will take the Democrat majority in the legislature down from 56 to 54, where the Republicans also have 54. In the past, this has resulted in power-sharing arrangements between the 2 parties. But according to insiders, the office of Democrat Speaker Joe Tate has zero respect for Rep. Matt Hall, who is referred to by Tate's staff dismissively as MAGA Matt, because Hall constantly flip-flops on whether he wants the support of Trump voters. Even some Republicans are reluctant to let Republican leadership have a power-sharing arrangement. Hall is compromised from his antics in college, where he was known as an alcoholic, known for sending racist rants, including pronounced use of the N-word and terroristic threats to his ex-girlfriend. This guy's a winner. Hall was also the chairman of the Oversight Committee that rudely dismissed the findings of Rudy Giuliani and his witnesses in the aftermath of the 2020 election. So anyway, shenanigans, of course. I'm so tired of them. I know you are too. Let me check your comments here. There we go. So yeah, I mean, they were talking about this in New Hampshire as well. Hold on, this is turned. That's going to cause a burn. Let's fix that. I was watching Red Pill, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he was drinking from a cup that did not have a lid on it, and he spilled it on his soundboard. And so I'm generally careful to use cups with lids, but Vermin Supreme. You know this person? We have to look this guy up. Vermin Supreme wants to give ponies to every American and use zombies for renewable energy. Okay, we have to look that up. Vermin Supreme. Is it Vermin Supreme? Oh, it's I-N. Okay. Vermin. This is not really this guy's name. An African performer. Okay, well let's oh wow. Okay. This reminds me of the guy. Do you remember the guy I think it was 2016 and 2020, who was running is a black guy, and he's running under the Rent is Too Damn High party. And he's hysterical. Yeah, I won't vote for someone who is pro-war either. I do understand that we need to be ready to defend ourselves, but this idea that we need to be pouring into every conflict all over the globe is just ridiculous. Did that go right after drinking the sing? Were you in there when I said that salty Cuban or syllabar? So I was watching Zach, and I noticed that every time he takes a drink, so it's very cute. You can tell it's something that he's done since he was a little boy, probably, which as a mom, I just find endearing. He does this. Every time he takes a drink. And so I pointed it out. I said, hey, did anybody else notice that every time Zach takes a drink, he says, Well, apparently somebody in the chat got all nasty about it. And was annoyed that he does it, and I only brought it up because I thought it was cute. And so yeah, there was that whole thing. I still think it's adorable. Okay, let me share this screen with you. This is the Vermin Supreme guy. How do you pick this name for yourself? I want to interview Vermin Supreme. I wonder if he would come on the show. Wouldn't that be fun to have Vermin Supreme on? Like, do I call him Mr. Supreme, or can I be informal and call him Vermin? It just seems wrong. We've been making fun of him for years doing that. Oh, okay. Well, I pointed it out, and apparently some lady got snitty about it, and then I felt bad for pointing it out. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean for people to like be annoyed by it. I was guessing most people didn't notice it until I said something, but I'm glad it wasn't just me. Okay, so Vermin love. Oh my God. Look, he's not black. He's got a boot on his head. What is Wellington boot on his head? Oh yeah. Well, I mean, could he be worse than Biden? I don't know. He's an American performance artist and activist who has run as a candidate in various local, state, and national elections. He served as member of the Libertarian Party's Judicial Committee. Supreme is known for wearing a boot as a hat and carrying a large toothbrush, and has said that if elected president of the United States, he will pass a law requiring people to brush their teeth. How are you going to enforce that? He's campaigned on a platform of zombie apocalypse awareness and time travel research. We've got to get this guy on the show. If any of you have a link to Vermin Supreme, I got to find him. And promised a free pony for every American. I don't know where I'm going to put a pony, but if somebody gives me a pony, I'm going to figure it out. In 2011, he participated in the Occupy Boston protests. He is the subject of the 2014, there's a documentary, Who is Vermin Supreme? We may have to do a watch party. And Outsider Odyssey, which follows his 2012 campaign and explores his life as an activist and political prankster. Supreme campaigned for the Libertarian Party in 2020. At the 2020 Libertarian National Convention, he came in third place. Good job. He generally runs for office as a satirical candidate, making proposals that are considered outlandish or unrealistic, and communicating in an unorthodox way in order to mock politicians and the political system. His eccentric attire includes multiple ties and a boot on his head, and he sometimes carries a giant toothbrush. He's created attention by giving interviews to reporters and crashing campaign events for major candidates. Some of the main themes are instituting a mandatory toothbrushing law, giving every American a free pony, using zombies for renewable energy, zombie apocalypse awareness, and time travel research. He largely avoided discussing major political issues until his 2020 run, which was more serious. He's run as a Republican, a Democrat, and a Libertarian. He said he was registered as a Republican at that time, but that he leaned toward anarchism and was influenced by the situationist international Dadaism and Discordianism. He asserted that libertarians are just about abolishing the government and letting shit fall where it may, which he called a mistake, though he later said that assertion was based on a prejudice for lack of knowing. He asserted that Republicans want to nullify the government, but offer no alternative to helping people other than charity. Supreme's vision of anarchism holds no need for government and depends on citizens to take responsibility for themselves and for others, citing mutual aid and support. To that end, Supreme has called for a gradual dismantling of the government while citizens take up the slack. He asserted that Americans no longer know how to be citizens, placing some of the blame on schools that teach a very twisted and jingoistic. You know what? We should have this guy on. I bet he's super interesting. I mean, look at the boot on the head. He's got lots of ties and he wears them all at once. That's interesting. Supreme glitter bombs Randall Terry during a forum at New Hampshire Institute of Politics. I mean, come on. Anybody who does a glitter bomb. All right, we got to find this guy. Okay, wait, right to pony. In December 2017, Hillary Clinton planned to visit Concord, New Hampshire for a book tour promoting her new book, What Happened. In advance of her presentation, Supreme planned a demonstration in front of the bookstore during the event. The demonstration was to be a pony protest and include at least one pony. Supreme has a history of making the election promise of ponies to constituents and has asserted that Clinton does not like ponies enough. When Supreme sought a protest permit for his demonstration, the police ordered the city to deny his request. Why? In response, Supreme asserted his right to pony and retained Mark Randazza, an attorney with a reputation for advocacy. The court found in favor of Supreme, issuing an injunction that the city give him a permit, allow him to protest the event, and allow him to bring ponies. A stipulation was that Supreme had to pay for parking for ponies at the rate for cars. When Supreme presented the pony protest, there was a parade. More than 1,000 people attended the book signing and protest. Okay, we got to get Venom Supreme on. Venom Love? Yeah. No, Vermin. Vermin Love Supreme. Vermin Love Supreme. I got to remember that. That is some of the best information you guys have given me in the chat to date. I do too. I think Zach has a great sense of humor. And he's a delightful human on top of it. Vermin Supreme. Salty Cuban Cracker, you need to get on that. You need to find out if Vermin Supreme will come on the Nurse Penny show. I mean, it couldn't be any more ridiculous than Nikki Haley or Tim Scott's not ridiculous. He's just not going to win. It would be no more ridiculous than Mike Pence running for president. How about that? Okay, hold on. Let me see what this is. Stop it. Oh, that's my show. That's what that is. Okay. Now we've got Google's electric buses. Because, see, Tennessee Woman is pro-pony. I'm pro-pony. Do you guys remember the Seinfeld episode where Jerry says that he thinks anybody who owns a pony is terrible, and then it turns out, or maybe Elaine says it, and then it turns out that the grandmother had a pony back in the old country. It's a good one. Where is it? I don't understand why these are not. What is this one? This one is Google's Green Dream Goes Downhill. Why can't I find that now? Oh, I see. Amherst Democrats, FDA, World War II. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why this is such a mess tonight. There we go. Okay. Make sure you guys can see. And that one came up right. I'm pro-pony. I'm pro-pony. I wonder if it's just like a random pony or if you get to pick out your pony. I super want to pick out my pony. I don't want just any pony. I want a different pony. Okay. Google's Green Dream Goes Downhill. Google's 100% electric bus loses power, causes mayhem on San Francisco slope. What is also interesting about these buses was I saw a video on this the other day, and it was a fireman talking about how difficult these things are to put out, how they can burn for like a week. You can even submerge them in water and they will continue to burn. And I'm like, because that's going to be super good for the environment. Google's ambitious dive into the world of electric transportation faced an unexpected roadblock, or rather, a hill. According to World Peace Exclusive, the tech's lauded 100% electric bus took on San Francisco's iconic hilly terrain, only to lose power midway up, roll backward, and turn into a four-wheeled pinball, colliding with reportedly a total of 9 vehicles on its unintended descent. The electric behemoth is part of Google's fleet of approximately 140 luxury buses, primarily used to transport Google's employees from various parts of San Francisco, the East Bay, and other Bay Area locations to the firm's Mountain View headquarters. However, the recent accident involving the electric bus in San Francisco indicates that Google's ambitious eco-friendly initiatives may have a few bumps, or rather a few rolls, to iron out. The incident shone a light on the potential issues of powering large vehicles up the city's famous steep hills. As the bus lost power, it began to roll backward, creating a path of mild destruction by colliding with 9 vehicles on its way down. Google has made no official comment on the incident. The San Francisco Municipal Transit Authority passed a resolution in 2018 to convert its bus fleet to 100% electric by 2035. The resolution requires SFMTA to begin purchasing 100% battery electric buses starting by 2025. The first 10 battery electric buses have entered revenue service. And there you go. It's not working. Who could have seen that coming? I don't even know how they're going to keep these things going when they have continuous blackouts and other issues. Who would leave a pony country and move to a non-pony country? I love you guys so much. Holden, how are you, sweetheart? I missed you the other day. I got into the chat on Bongino. I don't normally get into the chat because it moves so fast, but I got in there and I was looking for you and you weren't there. Your whole other McGroin family was there. Anita McGroin was there. Touchin' McGroin was there. I can't remember who else, but all the McGroins besides you were in attendance. And I'm just letting you know that I know you weren't there. And I felt your absence. All right, let's do this one's super cute. Share. I'm sorry I miss you all the time. I know, Holden. Get it together, man. I would like to speak with the real man of genius that decided to use fully electric public bus transportation in San Francisco. Well, and isn't this California is also where they're dragging people with their autonomous vehicles. It does look like real wood, doesn't it? Anita is the best. I don't go on chat anymore because it's too fast. It is too fast. So you know Anita McGroin. That's so cool. I feel like I'm just famous because I'm in the McGroin family circle. All right, hold on. Here we go. This one, share. Make sure you guys can see it. And it came right up. I don't know why some of them work and some of them don't. Serial car. Okay. Serial car theft suspect in Ohio stopped by fast-thinking forklift operator who suspends him in midair. This is the greatest story. A serial car thief was apprehended in a very unique way. As he was trying to steal a car from a junkyard in Akron, Ohio, he was met with a forklift that put him 20 feet in the air while in the vehicle. The suspect has been identified as Alexander Funk, 26 years old. This is the third time Funk broke into the junkyard, but the first time he was caught. A man in Ohio sat about 20 feet off the ground in a vehicle he allegedly tried to steal from a wrecking yard while waiting for police to arrive to arrest him. Body cam footage from Akron police shows the SUV still hanging in the air before it was gently lifted down so officers could apprehend the subject. "What's your name, man?" one of the officers could be heard asking. "None of your business, bro," the suspect in handcuffs said. The footage was from the Akron Police Department, which has a body cam. He was charged with, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He was charged with trespassing and possession of a tool with intent for criminal activity. This can be a lesson not to commit crimes, especially around quick forklift operators. And let's see, I don't know if it'll show the video or not.
This is amazing, dude.
Employees at Arlington Auto Wrecking in Akron are sick and tired of people breaking into their shop and stealing from them. So when they caught a man who had broken into one of their cars for what they claimed was the third time, they weren't taking any chances.
He broke into a car at the junkyard, and before he could get out, he's done it before. They got like the forklift, and they had him, I'm not kidding, like 20 feet off the ground. So when we got there, we went right into custody.
It happened Tuesday afternoon. Employees used a forklift to suspend the car in midair.
It was pretty impressive, honestly.
So when police arrived, it was an easy arrest.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back, all right?
Police arrested 26-year-old Alexander Funk for criminal trespassing and possessing criminal tools.
All right, man, well, here's the deal. This lot has been, there's having a serious amount of break-ins and converters cut off, and you got a Sawzall, and you're in the private area of the business that's not open to the public.
Yes, sir.
So, you know what I mean? So what do you got the Sawzall for, brother?
Copper, to be honest, brother, not gonna lie.
I found at least 2 other police reports from
Probably
this
stealing
year of
catalytic
people either
converters.
breaking into vehicles at this business or people stealing catalytic converters from this business. Employees told police Funk had broken in several times before. They said they let him go the first time. They said the second time he escaped.
I was putting the car in the shop and he was in the back seat, and we called the police on you guys for you guys to get here, and he shoved one of my guys out of the way and took off running.
That's good stuff. I don't care who you are. That's good stuff. Can you imagine stealing? His last name is Funk. The face tattoos, they just really say it all, don't they? If you see somebody with face tattoos, just steer clear. You know who has a ton of tattoos? Hey, babe. He must be asleep. Super cute. She's married to what is his name? Jax. Little blonde. Anyway, apparently she's so tattooed, she has to spend like hours in makeup before she can go on the air because like she's got tattoos everywhere on her face, her whole body. What is her name? Really cute little blonde. I would have never known it. I can't think of her name. Hold on. Oh, you were here, just not in the chat. That's okay. You're good friends outside of chat also. Awesome. I love that people in the chat get to know each other, and maybe they knew each other before, and it's none of your business. Modern version of Killdozer. I love watching police cams too. Did you guys see the one? I didn't pull this one for this week because I figured everybody had seen it, but it's the non-binary gal. Her name is Kai, and she gets pulled over for driving the wrong way down the road, and she like pulls the victim card so many times she probably sprained her arm, where she's like, I have an anxiety disorder, I'm non-binary, please stop calling me ma'am, you're triggering me. And the officer's just as sweet as he can be to her. She's like, she can't walk the straight line because she has an anxiety problem. She's also an Indigenous person. What any of this has to do with her driving the wrong way down the street, I don't know. But it's hysterical. I'm like, your victim status doesn't and should not work in the real world. You still should have to, obey the laws and stuff. But she really thought that she should get a total pass because... And the guy kept mistakenly calling her, but her driver's license says female. I'm like, get it changed, I don't know what they put down if, you and Danita, I don't know what they put down if you're neither I don't know. I have no idea how that works. I have a hard enough time just normally getting a driver's license. I don't know how I would do it if I didn't know what gender I was. I mean, I lie about the weight, but who doesn't? I'm like, do you mean my weight today or my best weight, my most optimistic weight? She claimed me from day one. Oh, that's nice. There's no way I could do field sobriety and I don't drink. Why couldn't you do a field sobriety test? You don't think you could pass one, or you don't think you could do one on someone else? All right, let me find the next one. Oh, this one's super cute. All right. Yeah, I don't drink either. Sometimes I'll have, okay, I do drink sometimes, like maybe 2 or 3 times a year I'll have a drink, but not often enough to say I drink. And I can't drink much, or I get stupid really quick, especially with wine. I have like 4 sips of wine and I am an idiot. All right, hold on. Let me share this next one. This one's really sweet. I've tried them with the, wait, hold on. I wanted to see what she said. Cancel. I tried them with the police cam video. I can't do it. You can't pass this field sobriety test? All right. Marie's got some issues, guys. We need to help Marie out. She's struggling with the field sobriety test, totally sober. Like you just have to walk a straight line and like maybe say you're alpha. I don't think I've ever had a field sobriety test. I don't know. I've assessed a lot of people who were not in their right minds with drugs and alcohol, because you have to go in and assess orientation. So when I worked at the smaller hospital, we would get a lot of the drug overdoses because there was a risk of them losing their airway. And so we would put in this temporary airway. And what it is it's like this curved piece of plastic, and it goes in your mouth and it keeps your tongue pulled forward so that your tongue doesn't fall back, block your airway, and you suffer or smother to death because you're so intoxicated you don't have the reflex to cough or move your head or pull forward. And so we would put those things in people, and you can put a little oxygen down them. But that's kind of how you knew if the person was faking being totally intoxicated because they didn't want to go to jail. Because as soon as you put that thing in someone's mouth, if they're faking being passed out, they wake right up. That and the threat of a catheter will usually wake people up too. You're like, oh man, this guy's really out. I mean, he is totally unconscious. I think we probably better get a catheter in him. And immediately they're like, what? Wait, what? What's going on? I don't know. Oh, the whole heel toe thing gets you. Well, you could practice. Sobriety tests are hard, even sober, for a reason. Really? Okay, I'm going to get online and find out what is involved in a field sobriety test, and I'm going to make Dawn give me one. Because now I feel like I have to be an overachiever and do super good. They already know after looking in your eyes with light if you're on something. Right. So if you're on narcotics, you're going to have pinpoint pupils. If you have been drinking, you'll have nystagmus, so they'll have you look to the side, and as you get to that lateral gaze, you'll see the pupil doing this. And some medications will do that to you too. I never drunk, but I have smoked Cuba Cohiba cigars. I was told as a kid that it was good for young and would help you age well. My great-grandmother smoked cigars and managed to live until 97. Wow. I can't do any of them. I'm half paralyzed. Hold them, McGroin. It's a good thing you don't drink, friend, because I don't want you failing a field sobriety test. Okay, this one is young boy. Okay, share this one. This one. This one's very sweet. Hopefully you guys are able to hear these too. Okay, so backstory. This little boy calls 911 because he wants to give the police a hug. Mom doesn't know that he's called the police. The police show up and they're like, hey, did somebody hear? Oh, is there no video? Doggone. All right, I'll read it. In a touching incident, let me make sure you guys can see. Yeah. There we go. In a touching incident that's captured the hearts of many, a Florida deputy responded to a disconnected 911 call only to find himself in a heartwarming situation. Deputy Scott Pratt of Hillsborough County was dispatched to a residence in the Riverview area. Upon his arrival, he was met by a young boy who had a simple yet endearing intention. He had dialed 911 because he wanted to give the police officer a hug. This poignant moment was recorded on Deputy Pratt's body cam, as well as the home's Ring doorbell camera. The video quickly gained traction on social media platform after being shared by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Diana Del Valle, the young boy's mother, expressed that her son wasn't fully aware of the purpose of 911. He's just little. He's like maybe 5 or 6. She mentioned, to be honest, he doesn't even know what 911 is. Deputy Pratt, understanding the innocence behind the act, responded, "Yeah, I'll explain it. It's not a problem." When the mother inquired if her son had called the police, the boy candidly replied, "Well, I wanted to give him a hug." He then enthusiastically added, "I know what your phone number is. It's 911," before eagerly rushing to embrace the officer. From Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, accidental 911 calls lead to heartwarming moment, body-worn camera. Anyway, that was it. It was very, very sweet. I wanted to give him a hug. I know your phone number. Very cute, very cute. And it was nice to see I saw so much over Halloween where the crazy woke people were coming out and saying, don't let your kid dress as a police officer. It's very triggering. Don't let your kid dress as a Native American. That's stealing other people's cultures. And I talked about this. I was like, okay, so it's totally okay for your kid to dress as a maniacal serial killer, but you can't dress as a Native American or a policeman. Something is wrong with this society. You can dress as a blood drinking, thirsty vampire. Totally fine. An undead person, totally fine, but not a police officer. You can't steal someone else's culture, which is always said by white people. Always. It's never people of color. Like, the whole dressing up as a Native American. I have Native American friends and they're like, it's fine. We aren't offended by it. It's just white people who are offended by it, who then decide for us that we are now offended by it or should be. Holton McGrain says, I smoke a lot of pot. Yeah, that might impact your ability to be able to pass a field sobriety test. They make the test up for discretion so they can find a reason to search. Really? Even if you're like super polite? I don't know. I've just never had a run-in with an officer. I've had one run-in with an officer that was negative where he was yelling at me and he was just being a jerk because I didn't pull over immediately. But he put his lights on the bridge, so I couldn't pull over. And then we were driving through a small town where the parking in front of the whole, the strip area of the downtown is like this. So I couldn't pull over there either. And then the first place I saw that I could pull over would have had him out in the road. So I didn't want to do that. So I went just a little further, and it wasn't far, where there was a church, and I was able to pull way off the road, and that got him off the road because I didn't want him to get hit. And he just lost his mind about it. And I was driving slow, had my flashers on, so he knew I saw him. And I usually don't drink, says Summer. The other day I went out for lunch, sushi. I love sushi, with a friend. She said, why don't we drink wine? We chose a small bottle of rosé, and I got instantly drunk, I'm guessing she's going to say. I know, wasn't it sweet? Oh, I got dizzy by the end of it. Yeah, if I have just a little bit of wine where I've got a gastric sleeve, so my stomach is like, your stomach normally looks like a kidney bean. Mine looks more like a small banana. And you just get drunk really easy because you don't, I don't know what the mechanism is. They said once we go to bypass, it'll be even worse. So I don't see me being able to drink. Or dress as the opposite sex 365 days a year. Yeah, that's true. That's totally fine. But you can't dress as a policeman. A glass and a half. It's almost embarrassing. Yeah, I can't even drink half a glass. 2 ounces of wine will put me away. Don will tell you. I'm like, bring the car here. He's like, I'll walk you to the car. And I'm like, no, bring the car here. He's like, to the front of the restaurant. And I'm like, no, right here. He's like, to the table. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to make it to the car. He's got video. It's so embarrassing. He's one that would take advantage. Oh, okay. I know a lot. Yeah. He was an asshole, to be honest. I know that's terrible. I shouldn't say that, but he was. I know a lot of Indians and they don't care. They don't care. It's all BS. It's like the whole issue that I had with this person complaining because I used the word squaw to tell a story, a fictitious story that my dad told us, which was that when he met my mother, she was an Indian squaw. And he was in love with her at first sight, and he traded 6 white horses and a toaster for her, which was just a silly story he told us as children, and I was relating it. And this person was like, oh, that word is very offensive. So I immediately shot off an email to my friend who's Native American and she's from the Ojibwa tribe. And she's like, no, that's not offensive. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. And then she sent me an article about white people deciding what's offensive for other people and how that's really more offensive than the offensive thing. And so I made sure to share that in a group email with everybody who was there. Mexicans don't care about people dressing as bandits. No, they do not. My ex-husband is half Hispanic. And so I know the whole thing with that family. So my kids are all quarter Hispanic and it's all ridiculous. No, that I used the word squaw was what was offensive, Wolf, that I used that word. But she's like, when you're talking about folklore or fables, that's actually when you use that word. That was actually the exact right use of the word. We used to be able to joke around. I still joke around. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if people call me racist. I don't care. I just don't care. It's already happened. People have already accused me of that. And I shot them down as soon as they did. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to apologize. That wasn't a racist comment. You're an idiot. And, I'll apologize for your stupidity, and I work for a university. What happened to imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And it's white people. White people happen to it. Me too, Wolf. I don't hang out with people I can't joke with. You just would not make it with me because I just can't not say stuff. I said something to Don tonight that I cannot repeat. That sounded a little better in my head than it did when it came out. And I actually blushed. We've been together 13 years and I was embarrassed by it. And no, I can't tell you what I said. The word squaw is offensive. Calling someone real is off. Never mind. It's 2020. Well, see, that's the thing is I didn't call anyone a squaw. I was telling a story about a squaw. Now, if you walked up to a Native American woman and said, hey, squaw, get in my car. Well, yeah, that would be offensive, but context is everything. But yeah, just a woke person in my life that is ridiculous. Wait until, totally jabbed up, the whole thing. Wait until the leftists find out how racist Hispanics are to each other. Yes. So when I went to school in Texas, a good part of our school were Hispanic people. And yeah, you're right. That's all. I'll leave it at that. I don't hang out with people who get offended. Well, I have family who get offended, but I'm over that too. The Wolf of Fenris is a proud chalk demon. Oh my gosh. Oh, chalk demon. Right. I would lose I just won't apologize. I'm like, okay, you're white, you're offended. Obviously you have nothing better to do with your brain than be offended. I'm not playing. My poor little granddaughter is frequently offended by things I say, like when I misgendered ET and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this. Wolf says, I told a new girl at work this morning, it's your chicken, you F it, because she was nervous about her first day. That's a saying I've actually never heard. I don't know what we'll just leave it at that. It's like my dad would say, and like I said, my dad's a Navy guy. I'd say, oh, I hope this or whatever. And my dad would say, hope in one hand and shit in the other one and see which one fills up first. You don't get anything by hoping. And that's my background. So ET is asexual. Well, I called it an it, which I thought was appropriate. And she thought I'd misgendered it by calling it it instead of he. But I'm like, well, what makes you think it's he? And so, there goes the debate between me and an 8-year-old. But I can tell she's got that's getting into her brain. She goes to school. I don't know where all she hears it, but, maybe some from her parents. I don't know. I don't pretend to understand where these things come from. I just complain about them. All right. So now we've got something from Bill Maher. If Bill Maher is not careful, Bill is going to end up becoming a conservative. So somebody needs to warn him, because I see it happening. Wolf says, don't debate 8-year-olds. You'll never win. I won. Like, she told me she really liked Harry Potter books, but she was sad because she couldn't read them because I can't think of the author. Rowling is such a terrible person. And I'm like, why is she a terrible person? And she couldn't really relate why she was terrible. She just knew she was a terrible person. But she was going to go to a Taylor Swift concert. And I'm like, I know some people who have worked with Taylor Swift and say she's a horrible person. She treats everybody like the help, like they're slaves, never says thank you, totally rude. Are you still going to go to the concert? And I'm like, you don't have to like a person to like the work product. It's like the idea that you have to like the president. I'm like, no, you don't have to like the president. He just needs to do a good job. Bill Moron. I'm telling you, Bill's coming around. Bill is making more and more sense every day. I mean, he's still got a long way to go, but he's closer than he's ever been. All right, let me make sure this opened up for you guys. It did. It's working now. Well, great. I don't know what I'm doing different. Bill Maher, Democrats are now the only ones carrying the tiki torches. Let's go to this video. Make sure you can see it. Yep.
What do you make of this level of just gut-wrenching anti-Semitism? I must admit, I don't think of myself as a naive person, and I've been surprised. It was like a volcano that blew. I mean, just like people in the United States with banner, fuck Israel. Any means necessary. I don't know where this comes from. I guess it's ancient, obviously. The hatred of the Jews goes way back. But I was taken aback by this.
You can't tell me you don't think social media has made it much worse.
So you think that's the answer? Because it's got to be something about the Jews themselves, because there are other people around the world who are oppressed. There are other colonized places, not that Israel colonized anything. But why this one place? Why does this arouse, especially among young people? I mean, the young people who hated Trump because he wouldn't condemn the people with the tiki torches, talking about Jews were... You're the ones with the tiki torches now.
I don't think... I think the way... To answer your question, Bill, because I have also wondered about this, the upsurge of anti-Semitism that you're seeing around the world, and sadly in the United States itself, is in a way the most powerful justification for the state of Israel, right? It must feel to Jews everywhere that they are not safe, that the one place they can be safe is the state of Israel. It is the ultimate justification. Why it happens is, sadly, it is the oldest bigotry known to man. I mean, it comes out of, the Christian ideas about, about Jews killing Christ.
But that's not what college kids think.
No.
College kids are not...
They're not Christians.
But I think what happens is there's just this, this upsurge. You have all kinds of different people doing it for all kinds of different reasons. And I think it just reminds you that I hear people saying, well, we should, ban this kind of speech, and there is now laws in France, for example. I don't know that that's the answer. I think the answer is to educate people to understand this is gross, ancient bigotry, that civilized people shouldn't believe this kind of thing. That, that's the part that's most worrying.
So interesting. I thought it was interesting that the first thing he does is try to throw Christians under the bus. Sorry, I got to turn that down. Is throw Christians under the bus. I'm like, oh no, it's not Christians out there screaming death to the Jews and from the river to the sea and all of that. And I'm not taking sides in this thing, but I don't want anybody dead. But it's just interesting that that's the first group he tries to throw under the bus. And I'm like, oh no, these are Marxists. These aren't Christians that are doing this. I thought it was funny, but they were serious with their lime green hair self. Okay, so next one. I don't want to do that one yet. This is interesting. I didn't know if you guys saw this, but Let me go back here and share this one. The FDA is banning a food additive that apparently has been banned in other places for a long time. Totally not unusual. As per normal with our FDA, they absolutely suck. So the FDA proposes banning a food additive that's been used for a century. And this is from Cap Radio. I don't know who authored it. Ayanna Archie. Oh, NPR is where it's originally from. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is considering banning brominated vegetable oil, a food additive that was recently deemed unlawful to use in California because of its potentially harmful effects on human health. The FDA said Thursday it is considering reversing its approval of brominated vegetable oil, or BVO, in beverages following a recent study in rats that found the ingredient could cause damage to the thyroid. And I thought this was interesting because thyroid disorder is just rampant in this country, and it's something that we don't really talk about, but that, I mean, good luck throwing a stone and hitting somebody that isn't having some kind of thyroid problem. The proposed action is an example of how the agency monitors emerging evidence and, as needed, conducts scientific research to investigate safety-related questions and takes regulatory action when the science does not support the continued safe use of additives in food. The FDA removed the additive from its generally recognized as safe list in the late 1960s. So, what, 40-some years ago, 40, 60? 60 years ago? Is that right? Yeah. But decided there wasn't enough evidence for a ban. It limited the, okay, so if you don't have enough evidence to know whether it's really dangerous, the plan is then let's just keep using it until we get some evidence. How about let's take it off the market and test it, and then once we know it's safe, but this is our FDA, but decided there was not enough evidence for a ban. Instead, it limited the acceptable amounts of BVO in beverages to 15 parts per million. Okay, but what if you're drinking a bunch of those beverages? And what if you're eating a bunch of food that has this in it? It's cumulative. Concerns were raised about its effect on the heart in 1970, but were resolved, the FDA said. A 1976 study of the consumption of brominated sesame and soybean oils by pigs found their hearts, livers, kidneys, and testicles had been damaged. Between 2016 and 2020, the FDA developed new methods to more accurately detect BVO amounts in soft drinks and fat quantities in vegetable oils. However, a 2022 study found thyroid damage in rats as a result of BVO, which led to the ban. The ingredient is banned from drinks in Europe, Japan, and California approved a ban last month that goes into effect in 2027, because let's do it for 4 more years and see who all else we can harm. We recognize that California recently took steps to ban the use of 4 food ingredients, including BVO, in that state, the FDA said. The agency is continuously reviewing and reassessing blah, 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 blah. Toxic additives like BVO that have been shown to pose toxic risks to the thyroid and other chronic health problems should not be allowed in our food, Brian Ronholm, the director of food policy at Consumer Reports, said. We're encouraged that the FDA has re-examined recent studies documenting the health risks posed by BVO and is taking action to prohibit its use. Scott Faber, the senior vice president for government affairs at the Environmental Working Group, said in a news release that the FDA has known for decades that brominated vegetable oil is harmful to human health. While we've waited for federal action on this toxic chemical, states like California and some major beverage companies have stepped up to remove BVO from their products and get it off grocery store shelves. In a post on X, the Center for Science and the Public Interest called the decision a big win. We're pleased to see the FDA catching up. Yeah, it only took them 60 years. Good job, guys. Way to go. I couldn't be less impressed with them. Okay, hold on. Had my sugar glider at the vet. They referred to her as female, and I said, are you a gender? Oh, I love you guys. Guess those rules don't apply to animals. I'm guessing they don't, sweetheart. You guys. I think, this chat's rolling. Social media didn't make it worse. It just sort of let it all surface. Yeah, it put a magnifying glass on it for sure. Of course, they tried to throw us under the bus because everyone hates us too, just less so, exactly. I'm taking sides. What? Hamas did was uncalled for as they... No. When I say I'm not taking sides, meaning I'm not going to get into a debate about it here. I don't want anybody dead. Hamas is definitely a terrorist organization. I don't disagree about any of that. It's just I'm not schooled enough historically or geopolitically to have a debate about it. And I've had people trying to debate in the chat, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I don't know enough about it. And then that person was like, well, you have a platform and you should really educate yourself on the history of blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Start a channel. If you don't like what I have to say, start your own channel. You do all the research and you do it. Leave me out of it. Salty says, I think Jews or Zionists got what they looked for. They have always voted for leftist policies. The reason why communism came to Cuba was because of Hebrews, and they left when the communists took over. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Palestinians elected Hamas. So, I mean, they got what they voted for too. It's just a history of malfeasance. I mean, I don't want them to destroy each other. I think that's a simplistic view of it, because the problem is, if you could just have Israel and Palestine fighting, okay, that's one thing. But now we've got Yemen getting involved, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Iran. It's because we're not exercising diplomacy as we should, because we have a feckless president. People have been yelling about brominated vegetable oil for a long time. That has totally gone over my head. I've missed that. I mean, I'm all for letting them fight their own war. They're equipped to do it. Wait. There was a comment in there about vermin. But because it kills vermin, it kills us too. Oh, I thought we were talking about our friend vermin. Wolf, I totally agree with you. America should do what the founding fathers intended, focus on America as a continent, and then shield it off from the world. Yeah, I agree. We are too enmeshed in the policies and everything that goes on in other countries. We stick our nose in where it doesn't belong. Wolf, I thought that too, actually. California says it's bad. Maybe we should rethink it. Okay. This one was good. I really enjoyed learning from Dr. Brownstein's book on iodine. Did you like that one, Ashley? It's a great book. Iodine deficiency being connected to many problems. So many people do not realize that the prenatal vitamins do not have enough iodine, and iodine deficiency during pregnancy and in those early gestation, in the early years of life, causes ADD, autism, all kinds of problems. And our government knows this, but they keep telling us, oh, you're getting enough iodine in your iodized salt. Well, most people don't use iodized salt anymore. None of the processed foods have iodized salt in them. The prenatal vitamins don't have enough iodine in them. Children don't eat iodine-rich foods. And we know this, and we just keep telling people, oh, iodine will kill you. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have medicines. Amiodarone is iodine. But yeah, that is an excellent book if you guys haven't read it. Fun fact, vitamin supplements never have enough to supplement bodily needs. Well, that depends on what vitamin supplement you're talking about. So like good vitamin D3 with K2, Bronson's a great brand. I've not had anybody that has not worked for to get their vitamin D levels up to 50 or higher. Most B complexes are actually very good and will get your levels up. The reason I know a lot about this is because I had weight loss surgery. So my vitamin levels get checked a lot because we tend to not absorb as well. And so I've practiced with different supplements and found which ones will get my labs where they need to be and which ones don't. Now, alone, they're not enough, but you have to eat a healthy diet too, which is getting harder and harder to do. I actually question if it's a causative factor in my thyroid cancer. I'm sure it is. now that I've been reading on it, and the ASD for my little, very interesting stuff. Yeah, you can give iodine to littles. I would use a nascent, Nascent, a nascent iodine. Just start slow. Just put it in their juice. They'll drink it just fine. And just go half of what it recommends on the label for your littles. Healthy diet. I try to have a healthy diet. I try to limit my carbohydrates. I try to stick to protein and vegetables and good fats. But it's not easy. And I'm home all day. You guys that work, my hat's off to you. I pack Don's lunch for him at night, but even at that, he's just only got a certain amount of time. He's so tired by the time he gets to lunch because he has such a physical job that he really wants to rest. So where I would like to send him leftovers, he doesn't want to mess with all that. So every day it's a sandwich. And I'm like, aren't you tired of sandwiches? I'll fix you something else. And he just doesn't want it. I heard outhouses when moved at campgrounds are full of Centrum vitamins. I'm taking Centrum vitamins right now, and I have to tell you that in my observations of my digestion, I have not found any. So if the FDA says anything is healthy at this point, do the opposite. That I would agree with. I don't trust these people at all. And the food portion of the FDA is horrible. We just had that big study come out about all of the lead and cadmium and all these dangerous toxins, heavy metals that are in baby food. And I've known this for a while and have kind of been sounding the alarm on it. But, the thing is with heavy metals in foods, the thing that chelates heavy metals out of the body is iodine. So you're not really affected by the heavy metals if you're getting enough iodine. The other problem is that fluoride, so the iodine receptors throughout the body and on the thyroid get bogged down with fluoride. Fluoride is the same size, and it will attach itself to the iodine receptors so that iodine can't get on it, which is why I don't drink fluoridated water. I don't use fluoride toothpaste. I don't have any cavities. I'm 53. I just won't do it. I love heavy metal. Oh, I missed your smartassery, my friend. So that's where they found them, you guys. Okay, here's another one for you guys. Let me get this one. This is masked far left. This one. Share. Make sure you guys can see. Yay, it worked. Let me see if this, because this should be a video. Okay, so these far left people are out. Activist in London left shocked after his attempts to brainwash female Muslims into supporting radical trans ideology. So they're all out protesting Israel, right? The incident began when a conservative activist named Billboard Chris brought a sign that read, "Children cannot consent to puberty blockers." The woke leftist then tries to brainwash the Muslim woman in attendance that Billboard Chris is trying to spread anti-gay propaganda. He's trying to propagate anti-LGBTQ propaganda. He's trying to tell children that they're not allowed to be a transgender. Say what you want about conservative pro-Palestine Muslims, but they are the exact opposite of woke. A woman who heard the whining liberal started roasting him. Yeah, they're not. Stop talking, bro. You have black nail polish on and you're a man, bro. Stop talking. Another woman told the woke male that supporting trans ideology runs counter to the Islamic faith. In our religion, you can't do that. We don't agree. The group of females then turned around and demanded the activist identify what religion he belonged to. What do you identify as? The shocked leftist refused to answer and walked away instead. While he was leaving, a woman in the group then leveled one final insult. You identify as shit, my bro. Billboard Chris reacted with bemusement to the incident and noted that the masked man hurled an insult at him prior to his attempted brainwashing. Masked Antifa man calls me effing fascist and appeals to Muslim woman for support. Insurrectional comedy ensues. I wish they'd put the video up. But it was super funny because he's out there protesting and he's thinking, oh, okay, they're going to agree with me. We're all protesting this thing together. And she's like, no, that's not okay. That transgender, we don't agree with that. And he was, the look on his face, he was just crestfallen, he's like, and when he walks away, he's so beat down. He just can't believe that. And I'm like, wow, do you read? Are you aware of what goes on in the world at all? You really thought that this crowd was going to, I mean, yes, the fellow white people in America who are idiots, who don't know anything, are all thinking, it's just interesting because they're all this pro LGBTQ and they're siding with Hamas, and Hamas would kill them for what they're doing. So the whole thing is just funny. This is pretty effed, but I can't wait to see their faces the moment the Muzzies throw them off the building. Exactly. Salty Cuban cracker. My grandmother used to make baby food puree out of cassava, steak, and sweet potato. That's really good natural baby food. Also does not taste bad. I used to, when my babies were little, I had a little food mill, and I just ground up whatever I was making. I didn't give them jarred baby food. So if we were having potatoes or broccoli or whatever it was, they got the same thing that we were having. I figured if it's good enough for me as a human, it's good enough for my baby. Of course, I nursed them until my first one. I just had a lot of trouble and didn't nurse him for very long and just regretted it forever after. Still beat myself up for that, but I didn't have a lot of support with that. But I nursed my daughter and my other son until they were almost a year old. So gave them a good start in life, I hope. Okay, here's another one. Numerous Democrats. Homemade baby food was likely why the blender was embedded. Yeah, I would think so too. This food mill was really cool. It's got kind of a round top and then a tube, and you put the food down in the tube, and then it's got a little, like a screen, and you put it on there with a little blade under it, and you just wound it up, and so I would make, peas or potatoes or whatever meat, chicken we were having. You'd have to add a little bit of water to it. And I would put it into ice cube tray, the compartments of ice cube trays, and freeze it, and then put it in baggies, because one of those little squares was just about enough for the baby. And so you could just, pull the bag open and grab some mashed potatoes and grab a little bit of carrots and feed them. And that's how all my babies were fed. I didn't give baby food to any of them. Which one is it? It's this one. Okay. Numerous Democrats turn against. This one. Share. Make sure that it worked. Yay! I gotta figure out what I was doing wrong there that they weren't popping up. Numerous Democrats turn against Rashida Tlaib after she pushes her anti-Israel extremism too far, by Joe Saunders from the Western Journal. Some of her fellow Democrats are finally raising their voice against Rashida Tlaib. The Michigan representative, the product of Palestinian immigrants living in Detroit, has been known as a radical since before she won a seat in Congress in 2018. But even in the middle of a Mideast war sparked by Palestinian terrorism, it took Tlaib's call for genocide to get some leftists to start paying attention. On Friday, and let me be clear, none of them care about this. They're just upset because all of their constituents are upset about it. They're upset because colleges and donors are pushing back, and they don't want to get ousted for it. So it's not that they actually care. It's that it's starting to blow back on them. On Friday, as NBC News reported, the Congresswoman posted a video to social media combining footage from pro-Palestinian demonstrations across the U.S. with a warning to President Joe Biden. Mr. President, the American people are not with you on this one, Tlaib said in appearances interspersed with scenes of demonstrations and statements by National Security Council spokesman John Kirby warning of civilian casualties from the ongoing war in Gaza, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanking Biden for his support. We will remember, Tlaib said. The video ends with the stark text, Joe Biden supported the genocide of the Palestinian people. From the river to the sea is an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence. No, it's not. Not death, destruction, or hate. My work and advocacy is always centered in justice and dignity for all. That is just a flat out lie. From the river to the sea, they don't want a two-state solution. They want the people of Israel dead. period. That's what they've said. I'm not making this up. I'm not taking a side. This is their stated goal. You cannot have a two-state solution when one state wants everybody in the other state dead. It just doesn't work. It's not going to be peaceful. From the river to the sea means get all the Jews out. And I'm not going to get into the historical debate on this. I'm just saying you can't have a two-state solution when one side says, well, we just want their death. And now Israel pretty much is feeling the same way about them. The meaning behind the chant is questionable. From the river to the sea refers to the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, the eastern and western borders of Israel. Palestine must be free implies the end of Israel as a sovereign nation and the demise of the world's only Jewish state. Considering the carnage of October 7th, mass murder in southern Israel, it implies the end of Israelis' Jews as well. Of course, Talib didn't describe the slogan that way. From the river to the sea is an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence, not death, destruction, or hate, she wrote. My work in advocacy is always centered in justice and dignity for all people, no matter faith or ethnicity. Ugh, I just could puke. It's entirely possible that Talib believes that. It's entirely possible that she's crazy. It's even possible the mobs in Michigan believe it. There's no way to know the actual heart of another. But the reality is that the slogan is not an aspirational call for freedom in the blood-soaked minds of the men behind October 7th's massacre. It is not a demand for peaceful coexistence from the murderous mullahs of Tehran who are busy funneling money to Hamas terrorists. It's a call for the destruction of Israel, the United States' strongest ally in the Middle East and the only democracy in the region worthy of the name. And even for Democrats, it goes too far. This is not how Jews view the phrase from the river to the sea, Michigan State Senator Jeremy Moss wrote in a social media response. This is not how Hamas views the phrase from the river to the sea. Hamas uses it as a rallying cry, and they don't simply want to displace Jews in Israel. They want Jews dead. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a woman whose politics have led her to disgrace both herself and her office, published a social media post begging Talib to back down. I have supported and defended you countless times, even when you've said the indefensible, because I believed you to be a good person whose heart was in the right place, she wrote. But this is so hurtful to so many. Please retract this cruel and hateful remark. Even some of Talib's fellow members of Congress have spoken up. This phrase means eradicating Israel and Jews, period. Florida Republican Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a former chairwoman of the DNC, wrote on social media, dressing it up in a new PR ploy won't change that. Representative Elisa Slotkin, another Michigan Democrat, also called out Talib. If I knew that a phrase I'd used had hurt any of my constituents, I would apologize and retract it, no matter its origin. I'd ask you to do the same. Anyway, it goes on and on. She was censured for it. Democrats voted for the censure as well. She doesn't care. She considers it a badge of honor. But, what are you going to do with these people? They're crazy. Uh-oh. Got to get caught up on my chat here. The Wolf says, at this point, I say let them fight. I'm tired of paying for their stupid crusade because they hate each other. Yeah, it's a mess. Hold on, trying to get caught up here. So was half of Michigan's. The whole squad was elected sleeper cells. Yeah, I agree. I was probably fed jarred baby food. It would explain so much. Put a World War II leader's mustache on Talib and you'll see a lot more than you bargained for. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, Michigan, Minnesota, you've got Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, and, so much of her constituents are Somalis. We talked last week about how so much of her constituents are Somali people who defraud our government. through 2 cases that the FBI took down, one for child care assistance fraud, and then the same group got in trouble, and they're linked to her, not just, because they're Somali, but because she knows them. Then the same group instigated a COVID funding fraud where they were pretending to provide meals to kids who weren't in school, and they weren't. And they got millions for that and got in trouble. I don't remember what happened. She's trying to put lipstick on a pig. Well, I won't say anything else. I don't have anything nice to add to that. Okay. Defender of democracy Zelensky rules out. Okay, he's not going to have elections because he wants a democracy. That's how you do it. And apparently we're okay with this. We're going to keep funding somebody who is canceling elections. What a terrible picture. Rules out holding wartime elections under martial law. Hailed by globalists as a real hero of democracy, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky dismissed as irresponsible the idea of holding an election in wartime, as the discussion has arisen as to whether Kiev should be voting under martial law. Zelensky, who has already banished opposition parties and enacted a gargantuan censorship, is now calling for unity to avoid pointless political discussion. His comments were widely interpreted as ruling a vote to that his sponsors would like to see in a bid to demonstrate that is a horrible sentence, demonstrate some measure of democratic credentials. Martial law was declared in the country at the start of the war with Russia in February of 2024. Martial law, okay. This person couldn't pass the sobriety test. Martial law was declared in the country at the start of the war with Russia in February of 2024. That's fascinating. It prohibits authorities from holding elections, but there has been considerable pressure at home and abroad about a potential poll. And I don't understand what's going on with the date there. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said it was critical to concentrate on the military challenges facing Ukraine as it tries to push out Russian forces occupying nearly 1/5 of its land. I mean, this war is lost. He's just not holding an election because he doesn't want to be voted out. Colonel McGregor gives an excellent summary of what's going on there. And even his Zelensky's closest advisors are saying the war is lost, but you can't tell him that, or try telling him that, is what they said. Back to Zelensky. We all understand that now in wartime, when there are many challenges, it's utterly irresponsible to engage in topics related to an election in such a frivolous manner. Can you believe this? We need to recognize that this is a time for defense, a time for battle, upon which the fate of the state and its people depend. I believe that elections are not appropriate at this time. So apparently, the leader of a democratic nation, supposedly, can just decide whether or not elections are needed or warranted. Zelensky previously stated that he would be prepared to hold the vote if Ukraine secured the assistance it needed. Oh, okay. So if other countries will give me enough money, I'll have an election, but otherwise, no, because he's going to need enough money to fix it. But now there is what appears to be a rift in the country's leadership after the Ukraine's top commander, Zaluzhny, that's quite a name, declared that the war had come to a stalemate, an interpretation which Zelensky denied. On Monday, Zelensky said that if it proved necessary to end divisive talk, there were state structures capable of making those decisions and providing all the necessary answers to society. He also said it was vital the state's institutions were fully behind the war effort and not on paving stones or street repairs. Okay. Ukrainian First Lady Olena Zelenska, who wrote this, said in September that she did not know whether her husband would run for re-election in 2024. Doesn't sound like he needs to. She also said at the time that the country's ability to organize a free and fair election could factor into whether he would run for a second term. It will also depend whether our society would need him as a president, which I guess he can solely decide. If he will feel that Ukrainian society will no longer wish him to be president, he will probably not run or just not hold an election and continue being president. But I will support him whatever decision he takes. All right. Who wrote that? Paul Saran. You need to work on your writing there, buddy. That was rough. Or have some editing. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but definitely bad writing. Yeah, Zelensky wants democracy without election. Yeah, Dearborn alone explains. Yeah, I'm from Michigan, so Dearborn's not far off. Ukraine isn't winning anything. They're getting their ass annihilated. Yeah, they are. You're right. Free and fair thinking. It's just such a joke. I mean, we're laundering our money there. You know, they're wanting him to go ahead and do peace talks so that they can start now getting involved in this war in Israel. I mean, I think that we can do some things outside of physical aggression that would help keep Iran and Syria and Jordan and everyone else at bay, Yemen, anyone else who's causing trouble. They need to go after the leadership of Hamas, and they're in Qatar. They need to get them. They know where they are. They need to freeze any money going to Hamas instead of giving them money for aid. The whole thing is just crazy. I'm so tired of being lied to and having the truth manipulated. And I see it now. You know, once you figure out, you know, these allegations are baseless, or you know, as soon as you hear the word baseless, somebody's bullshitting you. There's no evidence that also you're being bullshitted. They say that, oh, there's no evidence that giving the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccine together will be problematic. The rest of the sentence, because we've not studied it, because we didn't even study the vaccine. We just gave it to some mice and then we decided it was fine for humans. There's no evidence that the vaccine causes problems in pregnant moms or unborn children, because we didn't study it, because we suppressed the information when we got it. You know, I mean, we could just go on. And on that note, let's talk about the infant mortality rate. Share. U.S. infant mortality rate rises for the first time in more than 20 years, and you'll be amazed at how they have no idea what could be causing it. What could this be? Probably global warming. Climate change. For the first time in more than 2 decades, the United States saw an increase in infant mortality rates in 2022. According to a report released Wednesday by the National Center for Health Statistics, the overall infant mortality rate rose by 3% from 2021 to 2022. When did the vaccine start? 2021. The mortality rate for neonate infants climbed by 3%, while the post-neonatal mortality rate for infants who survived past 28 days rose by 4%. Infant deaths due to maternal complications like preeclampsia or preterm delivery and bacterial sepsis also shot up by 8 and 14% respectively. So the bacterial sepsis speaks to immune system not working properly. Preeclampsia is a condition where the woman is not able to, she's spilling protein in the urine. She's hypertensive. It can lead to seizures and death. And so that all speaks to cardiovascular issues, which would be in line with the vaccine. We live in a country with significant resources, so the infant mortality rate and the increase are shockingly high, wrote Dr. Sandy Chung, the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. As pediatricians who help children grow into healthy adults, any death of any child is one too many. The infant mortality rate in this country is unacceptable. For public health experts, infant mortality is often a useful benchmark for a country's health system at large, said Daniel Eli, a health statistician at NCHS and one of the report's authors. This year's increase in infant mortality, she said, could be either a weird blip, I'm sure that's what it is, for 1 year, or the sign of an underlying healthcare issue. What could it be? The increase in infant mortality could also be a product of the COVID-19 pandemic, which put a strain on communities' health. And yes, I'm sure the COVID-19 that doesn't harm infants, that's definitely it. Doesn't generally bother healthy mothers either, which put a strain on communities and health resources, said Rachel Hardman, a professor of health and racial equity at the University of Minnesota. The year before, in 2021, an analysis from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that while the total number of infant deaths had increased from 2020, The mortality rate had remained the same at 5.44. Okay, wait, how had the mortality rate remained the same if infant mortality rates rose? That doesn't make any sense. This is clearly the wrong direction, said Dr. Elizabeth Chirot, president and CEO of March of Dimes. Overall, I'm discouraged. The NCHS study found that the infant mortality rate in 2022 increased for mothers aged 25 to 29 who are having these shots pushed on them. Mortality rates also climbed for preterm babies, male infants, and for infants born in Georgia, Iowa, Missouri, and Texas. I would be curious to see how that fleshes out with adverse reactions to the vaccine. Are they higher in those states? That would be curious to know. Nevada, however, saw a decline. The report also found that different racial groups experienced different rates of infant mortality. For infants of American Indian or Alaskan Native women, mortality rates climbed by over 20%, from about 7.4 deaths per thousand to over 9 deaths per thousand. Infant mortality rates for white women also increased by 3%. Mortality rates for infants of Black women did not increase by much, I would guess because a lot of Black people were very leery of the vaccine. But Black infants experienced the highest overall rates of infant mortality, nearly 11 deaths per 1,000. So the moms did okay. Mortality rates for infants of Black women did not increase. But Black infants, okay, so past birth, I guess. This is very unclear. We know that for people who live in or near poverty and for certain racial and ethnic groups, there are significant challenges with getting access to a doctor or getting treatments. You know what? I half wonder, Candace Owens, if you watch her, she's pregnant with her third baby and she just doesn't go to the doctor. She's like, there's nothing wrong with me, not having any problems. I don't have a disease. I'm pregnant. She doesn't go to the doctor and she does just fine. She doesn't get all jabbed up. Her kids aren't all jabbed up and everybody is perfectly healthy. And when she had her second baby and was in the hospital, they would not let her get any sleep. And so she'd had a totally normal delivery, totally normal baby. And she wanted to leave. And they told her if she left without getting the baby's vitamin K injection, that they would, and doing a test, that they would call CPS on her. And she was like, screw you, I'm leaving anyway. And so she left and they didn't call CPS on her. And this was all stuff that could be done at the doctor's office and was. And but it just shows how women and new moms who are so vulnerable are bullied into these things. Anyway, they're going to blame it on a bunch of other stuff that's always been the case, and we didn't have the same mortality rate that we do now. All right, let me come back here and catch up on comments. Massive increase in teenage heart issues, yes. Well, and part of the problem there, and I think probably with these infants, as you give this shot, we're seeing babies have heart attacks in the womb and die. So part of the problem with little kids is they can get this subclinical myocarditis that, they're not able to express to you that they don't feel well. You just know they don't feel well. Nobody's looking for myocarditis because these are littles, and littles generally don't have that issue, and it gets missed. It's called subclinical. Well, the 5-year survival after myocarditis is very poor, very poor. So last week we talked about the little boy who was the poster child for the shot in Israel just died of a heart attack. People think it has nothing to do with the vaccine because it's so much later, but the fact probably is that he had a subclinical myocarditis. When he got the shots, it didn't get caught, and then he went on to have heart failure. I have seen in my life young college athletes die suddenly. It's usually a particular heart problem that does it, paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. And that can run in families, and you have to have an implanted pacemaker defibrillator if you have that. That's generally the only time you see it. Historically, that's the only time I've seen it. There's usually some weird undiagnosed heart thing. But yeah, the way it's happening now, no, I've never seen that. Killing the keepers of the old ways. Imagine that, yeah. Is CNN admitting to... I hate this slider. Remember when H1N1 vaccine killed 5 people and it was immediately pulled? Okay, that was back in the 70s. So we still have the H1N1 vaccine. It's in the flu shot, just so you know. Myocarditis is a death sentence. Yeah, the 5-year survival is awful. Awful. And they had said, oh, well, that's because generally older people get myocarditis, but the 5-year survival rate is awful no matter the age of the person that gets it. And the problem with kids getting myocarditis, so what happens is myo is muscle. And what happens is the vaccine damages those little muscle cells, the little myocytes. And when they're damaged, they can't squeeze anymore. And so as a child, that's a significant amount of damage to have to the heart going forward. We know in adults and people that are not little children, the 5-year survival rate is very poor. So when you do that to a little kid who's then running and jumping and playing and putting all this strain on the heart, and they've had a subclinical myocarditis that you didn't know about, and they've got these little muscles in the heart that aren't working, and then they drop dead from a cardiac arrest. It's just, the whole thing is just crazy. You end up with congestive heart failure because the heart can't, even with a mild case, because the heart can't pump effectively. And so then eventually you end up needing a heart transplant. But, thank God you didn't get that COVID that wasn't going to cause any symptoms for you because you were a little kid. And we tried to tell people, all of this people are like, you should have done more. I'm like, no, I'm not listening to that. I was banned from multiple platforms for screaming it from the rooftops. I've not stopped screaming yet, and you guys still did it. It's on you. It's not on us. You thought we were crazy. You wished death on us. I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but we tried to tell you. And for people who were bullied into it, my heart goes out to them. You definitely want to look at Peter McCullough and his organization. They've got the nattokinase, which will help despike your body. But now we're getting into where they're putting it into the food. I'm not sure how we're going to get around it. Part of me thinks maybe every 3 months it would be a good idea to go on ivermectin for a few days just to despike you if you're getting this in your food or you're getting it, osmotically through being around people who are vaccinated. But the new vaccine uptake is terrible. This is why they're trying to get you to do it at the same time as you do your flu vaccine, because they know a lot of people reliably, I don't know why, will go and get a flu vaccine. And they're like, oh, while you're here, you might as well get the COVID vaccine. Oh, have these things been tested together and shown safe? No, but it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Their answer is, we give vaccines together all the time, so it's fine. Okay. That's like saying I mix chemicals all the time. I'm sure whatever chemicals I'm mixing together, gasoline and bleach, and I'm sure it'll be fine because chemicals have been mixed before. And people just don't see. I don't understand how people don't see how ludicrous it is. All right, we got 2 more stories. Gavin Newsom. God love him. He's dumb as a post, but he's pretty, and that's all that matters, I suppose. It's not all that matters to me. Biden's rumored stand-in Gavin Newsom sees record low approval ratings at home. Pressure is mounting on Democrats to sideline President Joe Biden as a candidate and bring in new blood. After all, confidence in the octogenarian president's ability to lead continues to plumb new lows. A New York Times Siena poll published Sunday revealed that 71% of respondents agreed he is too old. 54% of 2020 Biden voters similarly indicated he should pack it in, having likely taken note of his mobility troubles, apparent difficulty completing sentences, and tendency to repeat himself. I mean, not even including his horrible job as a president. The problem isn't that he's old. The problem is that he's a horrible president. The trouble for Democrats is that the individual widely regarded to be a viable stand-in for Biden is apparently also deeply unpopular. A new UC Berkeley Institute of Government Studies poll, co-sponsored by the Los Angeles Times, revealed Tuesday that California Governor Gavin Newsom's approval dropped to an all-time low last month of 49% of the 6,342 California registered voters polled. They said they disapproved of Newsom's performance. Newsom's approval rating was 44%, down 11 points from February. By way of comparison, the latest Economist YouGov poll had Biden's approval rating at 43% and his disapproval rating at 54%, so they pretty much hate them equally. He's kind of taking on a new persona, Mike DiCamillo, director of the Berkeley poll, told The Times. He's no longer just the governor of California. He's a spokesman for the National Party, and basically voters are being asked to react to that. Newsom they're so stupid. If they had any brains at all, they would go with Kennedy. Kennedy can absolutely win it, but they don't want to be held accountable. Newsom is long suspected, and I'm hoping that bites him in the ass, of harboring ambitions of taking the White House in 2024, despite his public denial and rhetorical support for Biden. Senator John Fetterman suggested this week that Newsom is running a shadow campaign, even if he doesn't have the guts to admit as much. The 56-year-old Democrat has ostensibly been working to elevate his national profile in recent months. The fact that DeSantis would consider debating him makes me lose respect for DeSantis. In addition to renting billboards in red states, criticizing conservatives, support for the unborn, and the Second Amendment, he has been making noise about climate change and glad-handing with foreign dignitaries, including the dictatorial leader of the world's greatest national polluter. According to The Times, Newsom has seen a drop in popularity among every major voter category. Whereas 12% of Democrats disapproved of his performance in February, 25% have now soured on him. While Newsom may have chased away some support by flouting his draconian pandemic restrictions during the pandemic, dining out at a fancy restaurant while masked Californians struggled to make do, Republican political consultant Ron Stutzman told The Times that concerns about the economy, crime, and homelessness are likely the major drivers of his unpopularity. Violent crime rate per 100,000 jumped from 481 to 499 under Newsom's watch, whereas it dropped nationwide. According to Neighborhood Scout, the likelihood of becoming a victim of property crime in Newsom's California is 1 in 43, and the chances of falling victim to a violent crime are 1 in 227. You better be packing. In the cities, the outlook is far bleaker. The chance of becoming a victim of violent crime in Sacramento are 1 in 148. In Los Angeles, 1 in 135. In San Francisco, 1 in 186. And in Oakland, 1 in 80. I mean, you're getting your ass kicked. Don't go outside. California streets are not only dangerous, but often crowded by homeless encampments. Despite spending $17.5 billion to combat homelessness between 2018 and 2022, the state's homeless population grew, such that they are now over 170,000 homeless people. This couldn't be because you're opening up open-air drug markets where people can go in and shoot up drugs and be safe. Couldn't be because of that. I think the real wake-up call is how dramatically Democrat voters seem to be shifting underneath him. I'm not surprised his numbers are down. I'm surprised his numbers are down that far. Really? I'm not. It also said the unemployment rate in California as of July was 4.6%, which put him at 49th. I can't believe they would even consider him. I guess, he at least can talk. There is that. Whether he's right about anything, but he seems competent about the things that he knows nothing about. The doctors themselves are taking them, which will wipe out a lot of medical people. I agree. Most of my doctors know better. My urologist, not so much. He thinks everything is ridiculous, and so I've lost respect for him. Wolf says they can't afford to put it in foods now because less than 2% usage. It's a dumped money hole. Well, they're putting it in the vaccines that are going into cows and pigs. They could have removed him, and they didn't. It's almost like they weren't allowed to remove Newsom. Yeah, I agree. Well, what is he, like a by marriage nephew of Nancy Pelosi? I actually believe DeSantis is right. About what? Joke's on you. I had a stroke and can't understand half of what you're saying. Stupid thing. If Trump can run... What? Sorry, I'm back. Had to take out my bull terrier. We were playing outside and I slipped. Oh, no. Summer says, if Trump can't run for any reason, he'll be the Republican candidate, and the Dems may use this to push Biden away. He actually shines when debating Gavin. Yeah, I'm just not crazy about him. Not for any, I don't know. I think here's my thoughts on DeSantis. I think it's really easy to be a successful governor when your same party is in the House and Senate. You don't really have anybody to butt up against. They're pushing all your policies through, and it's really easy to govern when your party is in control. It is very contentious to try to govern in D.C., and I noticed that when things get contentious, DeSantis seems to struggle, and I think even Trump was surprised by how bad it was. And so I think governing with everybody against you is a far different thing than governing when you hold the majority. So those are just my thoughts there. I just don't think he's ready yet. Steve, what is it? Come here. Come on. What? I can't pet you right now. I'm very too busy. He's like, but look how cute I am. You are cute. Come on. Come on. Steve, come here. Oh my gosh. He's dumb as a post, but he's sweet. Come here. Oh my goodness. Come here, fatness. Oh, you're too big. He likes to hang out with us. Well put. If DeSantis had just waited. Yes, I agree. And that's tough. I think it's tough to know if it's your time. I mean, clearly Mike Pence thought it was his time. He is just absolutely delusional. I don't know what kind of crack he's smoking, but I know it's Steve. He's huge. Aren't you huge? What do you think, bud? Are you ready to go to bed? He's like, why aren't you in bed with me? Same thing Don says. Okay, I have one more story. I don't know if I'll be able to see it from this far away. World War II. Sure. Okay. One of the Navy's largest submarines armed with nuclear missiles arrives in the Middle East. Make sure you guys can see that. Yep, it worked. Okay. In a move that has ratcheted up tensions in an already precarious region, the United States Central Command, CENTCOM, confirmed the arrival of one of its Ohio-class submarines in the Area of Responsibility, AOR. The Biden regime has yet to release an official statement. On November 5th, 2023, an Ohio-class submarine arrived in the U.S. Central Command Area of Responsibility. Didn't I just read that? All right, Steve, you're so heavy. Really? The United States Central Command Area of Responsibility includes 21 countries: Afghanistan, Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kazakhstan. You can see that list. Do you need down now? The AOR stretches from Northeast Africa across the Middle East to Central and South Asia, and it spans over 4 million square miles. Yeah, that's a big old... See, Israel's just that tiny little area over there under Syria. The Ohio-class submarine is not just any naval vessel. It carries a class of nuclear-powered submarines operated. It is a class of nuclear-powered submarines operated by the U.S. Navy. The Ohio-class submarines are the largest submarines ever built by the U.S. Navy. They're 560 feet long, wow, 42 feet wide, and displace 18,750 tons when submerged. That's going to overflow your bathtub. The Ohio-class submarine has nuclear weapons. The 14 Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines carry about half of the United States' active strategic thermonuclear warheads that are... See, this is what I'm saying. We can't, because we're getting into it, it's going to get much worse. this is what I mean kind of by taking sides. We can be supportive of Israel. We can be against terrorist organizations like Hamas, and we can do sanctions. We can do all kinds of diplomatic things to discourage them from getting involved if we had a president who knew how to negotiate, who had a strong mind, who understood the geopolitics of the region, understood what motivates some of these other countries that are getting involved. But we don't have any of those things, and I'm very worried that we're going to go over the edge before we can get somebody else in, if we can even get a different president in. So the Ohio-class submarine carries 24 submarine-launched ballistic missiles that could destroy 14 separate targets each with near-pinpoint accuracy from 7,000 miles away. The Ohio-class submarine can covertly insert special operations forces. It can spy. It can sink ships and other subs. So that's where we're at with that. It's just crazy. I'm hoping that that's a show of force that will be effective and will quiet things down a little bit. I don't have a lot of faith in that. Hi, Steve. Yeah, Steve Martin. He's all about hanging out during the show since I'm upstairs in the kitchen now. He looks so much like your Felix. Yeah, he's a Tiger Bengal mix. Loves to play in water. He'll get in the bathtub with me if I'm not careful. Patrick Bet David pointed that out to DeSantis. DeSantis acted puzzled. Oh, what I said about governing when everybody on your side is in charge, and how that's a whole different. I just don't think he's ready. I think he's a good guy. I think he's done a good job as governor, but I don't think he's ready for this. I think most aren't ready for this. I don't think Trump was ready for it. Trump but thank goodness he had such great bargaining and negotiation skills, and he's very good at this kind of 4D chess. He's just really good at that kind of stuff. He's very strategic in his thinking, and I don't know how evolved DeSantis is with that. I mean, you can say a lot of things, but getting those things done's a whole other matter, especially when you don't control all the levels of government. That sub is going to get attacked. Just watch. Yeah. Well, what's sad is if that sub comes under attack and has to retaliate, that's it. I mean, we're in war with Iran, Saudi Arabia. I mean, you name it. Yemen, this is not going to be good. No, how his own team is tanking him. Yeah, that's interesting. Murray, you're right. I know what you're talking about now, because he had that on there where he offered him the boots and was asking him about the lifts. What on earth was his team thinking? And you know what's funny is there's a bunch of other shows that he could have gone on that wouldn't have happened. Could have gone on Timcast. He could have gone on Blaze, any of the channels on Blaze. I mean, just anywhere but there. Like, why would they recommend that, knowing how in the bag they are for Trump? It just doesn't make any sense. I agree. It's like you said, it's like his own team is trying to sabotage him. And I don't know if they're handpicked. I know they were saying he doesn't trust very many people. And so Casey helps lead, direct a lot of the campaign. And, but I tell you what, I would have fired my whole team by now. And the boot lifts are crazy. Like, I went back and looked, and like historically, everything I can find says that he's 5'9", and he's like, I'm 5'11", and I'm like, you're 5'9", and it's okay. I think Vivek Ramaswamy's like 5'6". Alexa, how tall is Vivek Ramaswamy?
Vivek Ramaswamy is 5 feet 9 inches tall.
No, that's not what I said. It says 5'9", but Vivek's not trying to fake his height. Hold on, let me look that up. Yeah, 5'8.5". I've seen 5'7". I don't know why guys need to lie about their height. I guess because women are so judgy about height. Every woman thinks she needs to be with a man that's 6 foot tall. I don't get that. That's exactly why they will orchestrate it. The sub will be attacked, justifying war, which will probably cause a hot World War II. Not that we already aren't in it, but yeah, I agree. I don't understand how we can even continue what we're doing without any declaration of war. Oh, Penny, no, don't use those. Don't use what? The ALEXA? I know, I shouldn't use it. Vivek was good at debates. I know people like him. I just don't trust him. You know, he voted for Obama. There's just something skeevy about him. There's something about him. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't trust him. He seems very grandiose, and arrogant. And I will admit that there's a certain amount of that you have to run for president. They record everything. I know they're always listening. But my phone is always listening too. So, World War III, my bad. Oh no, I knew what you meant. Yeah, they're always listening. I know. That's why I will say to her, Alexa, F the FBI.
Here are some results.
Alexa, stop. Usually she says, dum. I don't trust video either. Yeah. I basically just use her for timers, and I keep occasionally we'll turn the mics off. I definitely keep the cameras shielded, but I figure pretty much everybody, oh, you don't trust Vivek either. Yeah, there's just something about him. He's very schmarmy. You know, he reminds me a lot of Obama, very smooth, and I don't know, there's just something about him. I just don't trust him. And I could be wrong. I don't know about Vivek either, but he's definitely says the right. Yeah, oh yeah, he definitely says the right things. But a lot of the things that he says are like almost word for word repeats of things Obama said. Trump has been having the same problem when it came to his team. When he came to, I don't know how to say that word, but I know where you're talking about, and supported Carlos Jimenez, the Cubans are starting to get mad at Trump for not bring or back Elena Garcia. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Serpent-like. Yes. There's just, you know, he made his money in pharma, which automatically makes me distrust him. And that may not be fair because not all pharma is bad. But there's just, I don't know, even when I go back and I look at, you know, he's at some political debate or something years and years ago, or a town hall or something. And he stands up and I can't remember what he says, but he asks a question, and I don't know. I don't trust him. If I met him, I wouldn't trust him. He just seems schmarmy to me. You know, it's very smooth. I'm not very likely to trust a smooth talker. It's kind of what I like about Trump. He's not smooth at all. He just says exactly what he's thinking. You know, Biden used to be smooth, and that struck me as schmarmy too. I mean, he was still dumb, but it was at least smooth about it. You know, confident and had that kind of charm. But I don't know. A lot of people really like him, and I'm not saying that he would make a bad president. I'm just saying there's just something about him. And DeSantis, to me, is very awkward. I don't think that necessarily means he would make a bad president. See, here's my thinking. I don't have to like the president. I wish more people would. So many women, I think, fall into this trap. You know, I just don't like him. You know, he mean tweets, and I'm like, you know what? If he's an asshole, I don't care as long as he runs the government well. I don't need to like you. You're not going to be my friend. We're not going to be hanging out. I just need you to do a good job running the country. I need to be able to afford my groceries, my utilities, my gas. I'd like to be able to go out to dinner. You know, at a fast food restaurant without dropping $30. It's ridiculous. Everything is just harder and worse. You know, my parents, we can't afford to move my parents right now. And I need them closer to me so I can help look after them because the interest rates are so high. I mean, they're just through the roof. They can't afford to sell their house because they couldn't afford to buy something else. It's a hot mess. I don't care whether I like the president or not. I just need him to do a good job. Have I heard about Manchin? Yeah, saying that he's not going to run again, but is, considering a run for president. Saying the right things. Trump's been having the same problem. I wish this thing would scroll better. Hold on. It's easier to do it on my phone. All right, let's see. Let's find the chat. Much easier here. Hey guys, hit the like button while I'm looking through the chat here if you don't mind. Okay. Oh, that's better. A busy chat tonight. I love it when we have a busy chat. Okay. Vivek is doing a good job of exposing all the others on the stage. He is, but he's not really saying anything that Trump hasn't said. Salty Cuban Cracker says Trump also has not endorsed Alexander Otaola, which is one of the most important people for Cuban Latino vote, and did not bring him to his speech. May lose South Florida. That's interesting. Huh. The wolf says, make no mistake, Vivek is a snake. Yeah, I just don't trust him. Wolf says the moment he gets called on being a World Economic Forum WEF young leader, he requested to be removed, and they did it instantly. He actually had to sue them to get them to remove him. He had sent a written request, and he still found that he was in some of the documents, and so then he threatened to sue them, and then they took him off. Instantly once they threatened to sue him, or once he threatened to sue them. So we'll see what happens there. There are no coincidences, no accidents, definitely no easy victories with these freaks. Yeah, I agree. I think, I see that the polling is where it needs to be for Trump. I don't know. Daniel Cameron and Andy Bashir were tied in the polls, and I saw how that ended, and I was so disappointed. And now we've got this, of course, issue with this flipping of the votes, which there were issues when he won the first time too. And there was talk that what happened in 2020, that they actually did the trial run here in Kentucky when Andy Bashir ran the first time. Now, they say that, and I don't know if that's true or not, because Matt Bevin is who he was running against, and Matt Bevin pissed off every teacher in this state. They were mad because their pension was being affected by the high cost of Obamacare, of the health insurance. So they were having to take more out to be able to afford to pay for that insurance, right? And so this caused a deficit in the pension fund, and everybody was mad at Matt Bevin. And Matt Bevin was like, it's not me, it's Obama. This whole healthcare portal has caused the prices to increase so much, and so now we have to pay these increased prices, and it's got to come out of the pension fund. And people didn't want to hear. And he's like, you guys voted for him, and they didn't like having the truth put in their faces. And so all the teachers got pissed off, and that was all it took. So I don't know if there was any, messing around with the vote or not, but I know that Matt Bevin did not do himself any favors when he pissed off all the teachers. The thing is, though, yes, he was an asshole in the way he said it, but he wasn't wrong. He was right. He's like, you guys voted for this guy. The teachers unions routinely push the Democrat, support the Democrat, and this particular president has made your insurance unaffordable, and that's not my fault. We're just trying to keep the pension plan solvent. So there's that. Kentucky had you all locked down tighter than a tick. Yes, he did. And our governor also deputized the health department to go to churches where people were attending Easter services in the parking lot in their own cars and write down and I guess the memory span of people here is just ridiculous. I'm like, do you all not remember this? But so many people bought into all of that. But anyway, yeah, he deputized them to be able to write down your license plate number and then go to your house and put a mandatory quarantine order on your door for 2 weeks and then threaten to throw you in jail if you didn't comply with it. Even though you're not sick, you were sitting in the car with the people you live in your house with. I don't know how this was a risk. And, that caused all kinds of trouble for him. Eventually, our Government went after him and took away his emergency powers. But I mean, we had to fight tooth and nail to do it. And I think Daniel Cameron made a mistake when he didn't remind everybody of that. His tactic was to put Andy Bashir in bed with Joe Biden and say, well, he supports Joe Biden on everything. And that just didn't work because he's a likable idiot, and a likable tyrant. And people just have, forgotten that all of that happened. And so many people here were for it. But yeah, that's what they did. They put quarantine orders on people's doors for going to church in their own cars, sitting in their own cars for the whole church service. People who worked in Tennessee from Kentucky had to have papers to travel. Really? I didn't know about that. Because we didn't have a travel restriction. We were just supposed to stay in our house. Like, what kind of papers? I don't know about that one. Let me look. Papers needed to travel from Tennessee to Kentucky. COVID. This is all recent. People coming from, here we go. Traveling for the holidays, 3 states where Tennesseans will have to test negative or quarantine. Tennessee is considered high risk. This is just pretty much the airports, not really from state to state. Alaska, Connecticut. Hold on, I'm trying to find Kentucky here. Yeah, Kentucky's not mentioned at all. I don't remember that. If you've got something on that, will you send that to me? Wolf says people started to threaten something, which is one of the big reasons things loosened with lockdowns. Yeah, people here started protesting, and then all the people who were on board with it, and so many of those people I knew and knew well. I mean, they were just ridiculous. It was insane. My husband had to do them for employees. So, like, who's at the Kentucky state line checking your papers from Tennessee? I don't understand what the context is here. I'm not doubting you. I just don't know what exactly you mean. Like, so if you're working in Tennessee and you drive over the border to Kentucky, there's police there waiting to check that you've had a shot or a test? Or just employers here if you were coming from another? Because what employers would require the very beginning of the lockdown. Right. I get that. I'm just asking what was required. So if you were in Tennessee and you were coming to Kentucky, what exactly was happening there? You had to have a shot record, or Highway Patrol stopped you? Like, what was going on? The Kentucky Stasi, yeah. But, well, I mean, I have personal angst towards this man because he pressured the Kentucky Board of Pharmacy to write policies that made it hard for patients to get legally written prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine and even for azithromycin, an antibiotic. I couldn't get either filled until, my Facebook people that were following me launched a campaign and got the State Board of Pharmacy to intervene on my behalf. Otherwise, I would have died. Remember when Australia put sick people in camps? I do remember that, yeah. They still might. I have you can't let all those you can't let all that medical incarceration go to waste. You got to keep those things going. I was reading the other day, where was it that was starting to talk about masks again? It wasn't one of the states you'd think of, like New York or California. I can't remember where it was. And I'm like, you guys are out of your minds. I mean, if we've learned, a family member the other day said, oh, I got this sickness and this sickness. I guess I'm going to have to go back to wearing a mask. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Because, inhaling your own bacteria is super good for you. Kansas. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, guys. It is almost 10:30. I'm going to pray us out. We did a lot of news tonight. We haven't been doing a lot of news lately. We've been doing a lot of music and messing around. I hope you liked the ornaments. If you got here late, I'll show them again real quick. I've been working on acrylic pouring. So they make these acrylic pour paints that you can pour. One side of the university where I work is doing it even though there's no china. God, it's so stupid. All right, let me see if I can find this. I'll email you tonight. Thanks, Wolf. Salty says, that's what happens when you let your government take your rifles away. Yeah, funny how they were a little bit scared of making concentration camps. Yeah, we're well armed here, so personally well armed. I'm just not playing with these people. Oh, I gotta open it back up. Cancel. Anyway, I'm going to try to do an acrylic pouring video this weekend. I'll see if Don can help me figure out my cords and everything. I need a completely different setup than the one I'm using here. Hold on, I'm trying to pull this file up. T7 art pictures. No, not podcast notes. Pictures, art, and okay. So I was telling people earlier, if you were late getting here, I've been doing these acrylic. Let me make sure the screen window, this one. So I've been doing these acrylic pours. Add to scene. Yes. Let me crop this so you guys can, so I can see you while I'm talking to you. And when you pour onto whatever you're pouring, I'm pouring onto ornaments, you get this runoff because it's runny. It's a pourable paint. And so I put silicone underneath these silicone mats so that I can catch the runoff, because this will dry and it makes these little acrylic skins, and you can use them to make jewelry, to put on like little pendants and stuff as this kind of cool design. I want to make me smaller, make this bigger so you can see. So anyway, you can see those kind of neat patterns from the pouring. Let me go to the next one. There we go. And there's the ornaments. I'm just pouring those over. I'm using that one's got red and copper and white and maybe a couple little pinks in it. And just depending on how you pour it, it makes that pattern. I'm not doing that. It's just the way it pours on, and it drips and it runs the way it does. And you just add different colors until you get it where you want it. But there's one set of 3. There's another skin. This is a pink. It's kind of hard to tell the color, but it's a pink and copper. And so I'm going to take these and cut little sections out of them and put them on jewelry for my granddaughters. And this one's got a really pretty section over here and up here. And so I just saved those. I've got them on paper. I'll show you. This is just regular copy paper. So there's one. There's one of my pinks. And they're real thin. You catch it on the corner here. You have to watch because they'll bend on you, and then you can't use that little section. But you just kind of peel it up, and it comes up. Hold on. I don't want to stretch it out too far. It's pushed down really good. But anyway, it's real thin. And it sticks to that paper pretty well. And so I've got that one. And then this is the first one. You can see all the cool little pattern in there. So I'm making a little box for a jewelry box for each of my granddaughters. And then here's the last one. But that's just all that dried paint. And I like that you can use it for other projects and not have to waste it. So I'm saving them on these little pieces of paper and a little binder. And that way, when I get ready to do some jewelry, I've got them ready to go. So there's that. All right, here we go. So there's the ornaments a little closer up, and you can see all these little cells that get made. I just dilute some of the white paint with water. It does look like a leaf. And it makes all these cool little cells. So I'll try to do a live video this weekend. I may have to record it just because of I don't have cords long enough and stuff. There's another one. That one got kind of messed up where it ran over the side, but it was still pretty cool looking. So I'm like, I'm not going to be too hard on myself and throw that away. And then I've got some round ornaments coming. These are shaped like this. So I've got some complete round ones coming tomorrow. I'm excited to pour those. So I'll definitely try to do a video on that. And then I Mod Podged it. twice on each side before putting the paint on. And then when it was done, I did 2 or 3 layers of Mod Podge over the top. And then I used a spray on it that has like glitter in it. That's like a sealant spray. And then that brought out some more glitter in it, which was really pretty. I was glad about that. That one turned out really nice. So these are kind of all the same color family. I'm trying to do 6 in each color family because you can't make them look exactly alike, but you can at least get them the same color family so they're matching. But they turned out super cute. And then I think I showed you guys, that one's really good. I love that one. That one. And there's all those together. And that's the countertop. I painted and grained to look like wood. I used a product called Retikit. I used a wood grainer. That's a little hand tool that makes wood grain in it. Let it dry, stained it, used a gel stain on it, and you would not know that that is not wood. And then I'll show you the back in case you got here late. Let me remove this. Come back down here. There we go. Ginormous me. Okay, we finished the Josiah Manifesto on Wednesday, so if you haven't listened to that yet, so the backs, so I just painted them copper, and then there's the front, and they're super pretty. Got 6 of those. Do I have 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No, 6. But anyway, they turned out super cute. I'm going to be doing some that are turquoise tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yeah, those are all dry and ready to go. And then I've got the, I Mod Podged the wood ones, and I'm going to try to finish up the wood ones this weekend. I've got to glue the backs to them. I'm taking an ornament that's not been painted, the flat wood ones, and I'm going to take the not painted one and glue it to the painted one because you can't really pour the backs because it's just a nightmare to try to do. So I'm going to stain the back of it. And then I'll have the front that is the poured painting, and I'll stain the sides too. And then once those are done, I'll show them to you. I probably wouldn't pour any more of the wood rounds because they're just a pain. I should go grab them. Hang on a second. I'll go grab them. You guys talk amongst yourselves for a little minute. All right. I'll be right back. Bye. All right, I'm back. I've been working on these a couple weeks because I've got, I want to give them to the kids at Thanksgiving so that they have time to put them on their tree. All right. So we've got this one. That's the one everybody thought looked like a dragon's tail, but it's super, you can see it's super shiny now that I've got the Mod Podge on it. And then the backs I painted black, but I hate that. What is that? There's some glue on the back of that. So I'm going to sand them down and take another ornament. These are just a real light wood. Glue it to the back and stain it. I think that's the plan anyway. There's another one. These are kind of the blues. Wish that color showed up better. I made one for my almost daughter-in-law works at a wildlife refuge kind of place. And she works with reptiles and stuff. So I made one especially for her. That's black and copper and green. It's hard to see in this light. This one's super pretty. It's just turquoise, and I hate that my camera doesn't want to focus very well on that. Trying to just pull out a few of these. These are kind of different looking. I wasn't sure if I liked them or not, but I decided to keep them anyway because they kind of have this kind of neat marbled look, which I thought was neat. You never know what they're going to turn out like. The red ones. This one's real pretty. That's copper and turquoise. And then I've got a ton of them. Let me show you a couple of the red ones. There's a red one. You can see the shine on those. And then that pink skin that you guys saw, this is from that pour. I wish it was clear so you could see the lines better. This one's just totally different. This one's different too. And that's got reds and greens, and I think it's got a little gold in it. This one's cute. But they turned out really neat. I would definitely love to do them. That one's super pretty. I wish you could see it better. What's that one? I think that's about it. This one turned out good. And I just kind of swirled through those with a toothpick to make the design. And that's another red one. But anyway, they turned out really cool. I'm kind of an artsy, crafty kind of person. So I enjoyed that. So we'll see if they like those. I like the plastic ones much better. But those were good to practice on for sure, to kind of figure out how to pour them and how to blow the paint. You don't have to blow the paint, but you do, and it makes kind of blooms and pretty little designs. So I'll try to get a video going on that this weekend. And that's all I've got for you guys tonight. If you need anything from me, my email is in the description section. If you need prayer, anything like that, feel free to reach out. For those who support the show financially, thank you so much. It is such a help. I was telling people the other day that my website fee hit, and that's like $300, and I'd forgotten it was going to hit. But luckily, over the last couple months, we'd had enough donations to cover it. So that was awesome. If you want to support the show, you can do that via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. All the links are in the description section. If you want to become a regular monthly supporter, you can do that in the chat section. You just hit that little $sign next to the chat box, and there's a box next to it that I think says member or something like that. You can hit that and you'll automatically become a member for $5 a month, which helps defer a lot of the cost. See where it says subscribe next to the $sign? That's where it's at. And my chat stopped working. Hold on again. When all else fails, you can use leftover pieces for your fingernails. I think they'd probably be hard to stick on, but I actually thought of that. You want to make some? Well, good. I'll do the video this weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to do it live so we can talk. I forgot to tell you what nostalgia I discovered, says Wolf. Why is my chat not working? I hate when it does that. You'll have to tell me what nostalgia you discovered. The Wolf says, Winchester still makes lever action rifles chambered in Magnum. Wow. Marie says, that makes a long night with a time change. Yeah. 10-hour shifts. Geez. Yeah, I used to work 12s. It was so hard. I'd do 4 12s a week. It was crazy. You like the blue and the orange. Yeah. Yeah, Marie, I'm still struggling with the time change. I feel like I'm the biggest wimp ever. I don't know. And then poor Don gets up at 4:30. And he's working tomorrow morning, so I told him I wouldn't stay on here too late and keep him awake. But anyway, I will try to get it set up. I got to figure out, Don got me the boom arm so that I can clamp my one camera to it. The issue isn't really clamping the camera. The issue is the length of the cord. But I think I might be able to do it with that clip camera. So I'll try to do that tomorrow. Uh-oh. Wolf, thank you so much. You are very sweet. I appreciate that. I need to figure out the subscribe thing. I don't see the sub thing. Okay, so look here. Do you see in the chat, there's the little $sign. Right next to it is the little subscribe thing. And I'm sorry, that's not clearer than that, but that's how you do it. Just so you know, Wolf says, just so you know, Penny has saved more lives than the FDA at this point. Also, don't forget to like and follow for more silly shenanigans when I remember free. Thank you so much, Wolf. That's very sweet. And if you can't figure out the subscribe thing, I have people that donate just $5 a month through PayPal, and that's very appreciated. I don't have that on the app. Let me open the app. I'm on the website. Let's see. I haven't been in the Rumble app in a while. I'm not crazy about it. I like the website version better, but here's Nurse Penny. There's my show. On the app. Hold on. Pause me. Live chat. Oh, you don't. Interesting. Yeah, I guess you can't donate through the app. So if you go to rumble.com, you can get in the chat that way and do it that way. And if you don't want to donate that way, you can always just go to the description section and do Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or go to the, like I said, I go on via the website. I don't ever use the app. Um, and you can slow down the chat too. Like if you're watching on some of the busy channels, you can slow down the chat in the app. I don't know if, or on the website, if you go to rumble.com and then go to the website, then you can donate. You can put the chat in slow mode. So if you're watching Salty or Bongino, different people who have crazy busy chats, you can at least slow it down enough so that you can see what's going on. I don't even try with the chats on those busy channels because, I mean, if I put something in, it's a paid comment, just because I like to help support other people's shows because they're doing good work. Yeah, it's definitely on the. Oh, wait, hold on. It's definitely on the website. Use the browser and click the red. Yeah, that's it. Gotcha. Thank you. All right. Everybody's all set. All right, guys, let me pray us out. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this Friday and for everybody that joined. Thank you for everybody who joined book club. We just finished just a great book. Thank you to Rabbi Khan, and we just pray that you would bless his ministry. His books have meant so much to us. The Return of the Gods, the Josiah Manifesto, just excellent, excellent books. The Harbinger was good. And just so much prophetic teaching in those books. It was just shocking. I know people were listening and to reading the book, and every once in a while I get these comments that are like, oh my gosh, that's, and they could see how history was replaying itself. And I just thank you for that. We're not very strong historically in our biblical knowledge and our knowledge of ancient times. And so those books have been just so helpful to help us see that what's going on is not something new. There is nothing new under the sun, that this is the same plan that Satan has had from the beginning, and it's just manifesting in bigger and bigger ways because of how we've gone astray, how we've not stood up for what is right, and we kind of fell asleep at the wheel. We're thinking that our government was running things as they should, and now we find ourselves in a huge mess. But I just thank you that we have an opportunity and a platform where we can get together and talk about that and it not be divisive and angry, and we can all have our different opinions and still get along. It's like in the olden days. It's amazing. But I thank you for everybody that was here tonight. I thank you for everybody who financially supports the show and everybody who supports the show through prayer. That just means so much to me. And I just thank you, God, for giving me this platform. And I pray that I can be worthy of it and that I can help your people in any way that I can going forward. And we just thank you so much for all of the ways that you provide for us in our lives. For anybody who's struggling with grief, we know Wolf has lost family members. We would just pray comfort for him and peace. And I pray that you would prosper everybody that comes to this channel and help them to get past these really hard times. I know people are really struggling, and I pray your blessing and your provision on anybody who's having a hard time financially. Father, I thank you so much for this time together. I thank you for this channel, for your trust in me. Thank you for helping me work through the book. Hopefully, soon that'll be the next book we read in book club if we're lucky. I'm working hard on it. Anyway, thank you so much, Father, for everything that you do for us and for everybody that's here and so beloved. I really need them as much as they need me. And I just thank you for putting them in my life. And most of all, I thank you for Jesus. It's in his name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. I love you whole big bunches. Let me check the chat, make sure nobody came in with needing something. I always hate to leave and have somebody have a prayer that I missed or a prayer request. Nope, we're good. All right, guys. There will not be a book club on Wednesday unless you guys can think of a book that's short that we can read in. Let me give you the show updates because we've got some stuff coming up here. So I did reach, quite frankly, Frank reached out to me to see where I was on doing an interview. I told him I had a surgery upcoming. And so we're looking at probably past January for that interview, but I will still be going on his show. we've got 3 Wednesdays until I have surgery. So I don't know how we're going to find a book that I could read in 3 weeks, but I'll try. If I come up with something, we'll have book club on Wednesday, but I don't know what it would be. I'll see what I've got around here if I've got something that's short enough to do in that amount of time. My surgery is December 4th, so I'm not sure how much of December I'll be taking off. We'll just see how I feel. And if you guys could keep me in prayer for that, I see the surgeon on the 21st for my final visit before surgery. And I really do appreciate your prayers. I'm nervous about this surgery. I don't know why. I've had surgeries before, but for some reason, this one's got me a little off kilter. Probably because I'm nervous about doctors and hospitals in general, but I appreciate your prayers. If I don't see you on Wednesday, depending on book club, hopefully we'll get to do a video this weekend on the acrylic pour, and we'll definitely see you on Friday. So until then, I love you whole big bunches. Nurse Penny out.